everyone. It's our show, Borderline Sports. It's Josh here with my co host, Steve. Saturday morning, we're excited for the NFL season that just kicked off. And we're excited to get this is actually our first episode going.
Yeah,
Yeah, how
happy to
you
be
doing
here.
this? Yeah, I was gonna say, how you doing this morning, Steve?
I'm doing great, Josh. Just happy to be here. Happy to talk about sports. We're gonna rant about our favorite teams and our fantasy lineups anyway. So might as well record it, right? And you being a Bear, or you being a Vikings fan, and me being a Bears fan, I think the name Borderline Sports is fitting, especially considering we both grew up in the state of Wisconsin with the lovely Packer fans that we've gotten to know. So it's a heated rivalry on Sundays and even through the school and work week as well. So excited to bring that kind of experience and edge to this podcast, and excited just to talk about the game we love.
Yeah, I loved all of that except you do know I was like born and raised a little bit in Minnesota, right? It hurt my soul when you said that I was raised
Oh,
only in fucking Wisconsin.
you
I am
grew up
not
in
part.
Hudson,
Yeah, after I was 12 years old, man. I grew up
so
in like as a child in Minnesota. No, it's fine,
okay,
but
all
don't
right,
ever associate me with those people again.
all right. I'll say we
I'm
both
just
went to
I'm,
school in
I'm just
Wisconsin.
kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I love both states. Just ended up growing up a Minnesota fan, man. You see Randy Moss play. How the hell am I supposed to cheer for another team?
All right, let's do it again.
All right. So yeah, borderline sports here. Good buddies. We like to shit talk each other and big NFL fans. NFL season's finally back. Thursday's game was the Chiefs against Houston Texans. Um, a lot of kind of crazy stuff going in the world right now. So I mean, they've got a lot of. Beginning was kind of addressing everything in the world. We're gonna kind of stray away from all that. This show's gonna be mostly about football and fantasy. It's what we love. We just kind of want to keep all this side. So, dude, that game last night was really fun to watch. But I'm not gonna lie, it looked like there was some solid like rust still on both the two now highest paid quarterbacks in the league. I mean, watching them both kind of go down the first drive, it just I can understand why they were running the ball so much. Even simple passes, I was seeing Patrick Mahomes like overthrow. I mean, it just was.
Yeah, you couldn't expect the world right away. I mean, these guys haven't played live football in that setting since, for the Chiefs, the Super Bowl, and for the Texans back, a few weeks earlier in the playoff run, with no OTAs, no training camp. These guys are going to take time to get their feet underneath them. And it just goes to show you how good Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes has that offense just oiled up. I mean, it only took them a few snaps, a few drives to really get things going. I mean, it was 7-0 early Texans, right? And then what? The Chiefs scored 31 unanswered points.
Dude, I swear they
You know,
need that. It's like
right.
I feel like every game lately with the Chiefs is like there's all that pressure, and then when you're losing, and it's kind of like, oh well, now we have to crawl back out of this hole. It just seems like that's where they thrive. Because yeah, you're right. After the kind of first quarter, they started to pick up the pace quite a bit. I mean, you were seeing, I don't know how many tackles I saw Watson break out of when he was getting just almost demolished from that Kansas City defensive line, and Patrick Mahomes. Once he started getting in his groove, man, we could see why. He didn't throw for a bunch of yards, but all of his passes, just those three touchdowns, were just beautiful to watch, man. He looks like he's fired back up and ready to go.
It's scary. It's honestly scary, and we'll get into our
Not
predictions
for me.
later, but it's scary. I mean, he looks so good, and as a Bears fan, watching both of those quarterbacks play well. I mean, Watson was a little slow getting out of the gate. He had a good fourth quarter in garbage time, but his career has been really well so far and off to a good start. And just as a diehard Bears fan, seeing those two guys succeed,
How does it feel? How does that like?
yeah, just
I know I
throughout
give you
my
shit
time
for it, but
as a Bears fan, it's just been nothing but disappointment after disappointment, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, there was so much hype around getting Jay Cutler, and we couldn't get him any stability in terms of an offensive scheme, and that was a hot mess. And now we have this beautiful opportunity to get a franchise quarterback, and we trade up to draft a guy that only had 13 starts for North Carolina. Who cares?
But he's a
And
big body like Cam Newton. Cam Newton was doing really well too, huh?
yeah, well, all right. And if you want to talk about trading for Nick Foles, is that what you're getting into? Look, look. Without getting into a 30-minute rant here, the reason why the Bears went with Nick Foles is number one,
No,
he
I get it.
knows the
It's
coaching
it's
staff.
it's a coaching staff thing. My joke or my comment about that is just the money that drags along with it. And then you're not starting him. Maybe that
Hey,
changes throughout the NFL season.
he's
It's only week one, right? Right.
yeah.
We're still going into this, but I'm just saying, like
It's a
Cam
little bit
Newton is
of an
up there.
insurance policy. You don't sign Cam Newton. You don't trade for Andy Dalton for him to be a backup.
Dude, I think he would
Nick
be a
Foles,
solid backup.
Nick Foles is the best backup of all time. He literally is.
He's just
So
a
if you're
stud.
going to give Mitch Trubisky another opportunity on the last year of his rookie deal, we didn't give him the fifth year option. It's a good insurance policy to have a Super Bowl MVP who knows the offense without an offseason to be able to come in and hopefully all he has to do is move the football, get the running game going, don't turn the ball over. Hopefully our defense forces turnovers and we're going to be a tough team to beat. But we'll get into the breakdowns later, but it there's a lot of question marks still with this Bears offense, and it's just frustrating watching Mahomes and Watson just take over the league, be the faces of the franchise, get their big paydays, and now those two franchises are set for the next so many years with the quarterback position, which has escaped Chicago since Sid Luckman. So yeah, frustrating times to watch that, but it's it is what it is.
Can you imagine if I don't think Mahomes would have ended up on that team either way, even with the trade up. In my opinion, if they weren't going with Trubisky, they would have gone with Watson. I just think that magician's escape artistry would just be too valuable for the Bears. I mean, he's like the future Russell Wilson. Let's be real here. He can do pretty much everything he can, except I mean, give him a few more years and then give him a Tyler Lockett or a DK Metcalf and then a solid run game. And
Yep.
then we'll see where he's at.
Yep, that would have been the obvious choice to pick Deshaun.
Hey man, hindsight's 2020. I mean, it's sure fun to make fun of it, but you don't know at the time. And Trubisky was just happened to be a little bit of fool's gold. I mean,
Yeah.
for
Well,
just being a superstar, right? Like drafted up, taking him second. I'm not saying he's the shittiest
yeah.
quarterback ever, kind of.
You could have traded back to get him, honestly. I mean, we don't know. Rumor has it that, a team was looking to get him, but
Yeah, but wouldn't
I
you
don't
feel
know.
better as if, like, let's say the Chiefs ended up grabbing him instead of
Yeah.
Mahomes? Like I said, I doubt that would have happened. But if the Texans did, I could see that happening.
Yep. It's just last thing I'll say about this for now cuz we got to move on, but Ryan Pace did his interviews before that draft, and it's been noted that he never really gave Mahomes or Watson a fair shake or a fair look. He fell in love with Trubisky because of Trubisky's humbleness. I mean, he checked all the boxes for leadership and all that good stuff. And then the icing on the cake was Mitch driving in his crappy beat up car to, the Bears facility, and it's just like a humble guy trying to be a leader on a team. And I think Ryan Pace saw a lot of himself in Trubisky based on Ryan Pace's story. And so it was in his mind, Pace's mind, a match made in heaven. You get Matt Nagy, who's, this guy coming off of Andy Reid's system, the coaching tree that's had so much success. So the formula seemed to be there. And now everyone's job's on the line heading into 2020. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. We'll go into that later. I think that's rightfully so, in my opinion. But no, I see what you mean. He just needs to run the football. You know how much better statistically he does when he runs the football.
The Bears' offense is so weak.
I know, but
It's
to have that
there's
Cam
no
Newton-esque,
power.
like,
Yeah.
running ability, I mean, that is
Oh yeah.
very dangerous. He's not a small guy either. So, anyway, let's get into some divisional winners, predictions. Let's get right into it. We're gonna start out with the AFC North here. I just want to start out with this one because this is the one I'm most excited about. We got the Bengals, the Browns, Ravens, Steelers. I mean, give me your take. I'm really curious to know who you think is going to come out on top of this one.
To me, it boils down to obviously the Ravens are the ones that stick out the most. But in terms of X factors, you gotta not exclude the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've had a strong defense. It's only getting stronger with Minka Fitzpatrick back there in the secondary and TJ Watt coming off the edge. They've always been a strong defense. And now that they have a healthy Ben Roethlisberger who's trying to make, the last good run of his career, a healthy James Conner, still got Juju on the outside. Y- that team could beat anyone on any given Sunday. And then the biggest X factor, I think, would be the Browns. And can Baker Mayfield, with all those weapons and all those running backs, put it together to be a powerful offense with the high draft picks that they have across the board? That remains to be seen. I think the Browns are a franchise that has been bitten by the instability issue. They can't get a solid coaching staff in there to build a culture that sustains over time, and I think that's why they're consistently mediocre. And then, of course, the Bengals are exciting with Joe Burrow, but I don't expect much in terms of being a playoff contender yet this year for them. They still have a lot of gaps, but for me, power rankings wise, it'd be Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see anything different? Maybe you like Joe Burrow a lot more. What do you
Y-
see there?
yeah, the one thing I love everything you said. I mean, you hit most of it in my at least I have the same opinions about all of it. I love the fact that I'll be able to watch the Bengals, especially now that they signed an 4-year extension, right, with Joe Mixon. I
Very
think
watchable.
I think they're going to be exciting. I think they're going to be exciting. I just don't know if they're going to win more than 5 games. So
Yeah.
no, I definitely agree, and I think they're going to be down at the bottom. Here's where I think we're going to differ. I think the Browns. You're right. Their head coach has just been a piece of shit, wasting talent last year. The one thing I do know, having Kevin Stefanski being the old OC here in Minnesota, he's going to run the football. And now that they have kind of a little bit more improved offensive line, and let's be real, dude, I think Nick Chubb is just one of the best running backs in the game. If not, he's top three, in
And
my
not to
opinion.
mention they have Kareem Hunt too,
Yeah,
who
they
is a great
definitely.
spell back. Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I don't think they're really going to take much away from each other. I just think that is going to be a bigger security blanket for Baker Mayfield. And I think it's going to play so well with what he's been doing in Minnesota for the last, you know, what, 2 years or so. He's been there forever. I don't know how long he's been the OC. Anyway, but I think they're going to do a lot better than people think. But saying that, you also have the Ravens and the Steelers in that division. So I just see them kind of getting battered, having to play them twice a year. I think with a new head coach, it's going to take some time with the system. I think they're going to do well. I just see them as like a 9-7 team.
Hmm.
Um, and I see the Ravens and the Steelers as 11-5 teams. But here's where I gotta throw some shit down to kind of back it up. I think the Steelers are gonna be winning the division this year,
Do you?
and yes, I do. And let me go over something. So in 2018, when Big Ben was still healthy, he had over 5,000 fucking passing yards, and they
Hmm.
outscored their opponents by almost 70 points. And also in perspective, their defense allowed 368 points in 2019 without Big Ben. And I get it. AB is not a part of it anymore, but still, I think they have a solid receiving core with Juju. And I think Deontay Johnson's going to kind of break out a little this year. 2019, they had only 2,900 passing yards. They had almost half the amount of passing yards without Big Ben. I think, and I get 5,000 is a lot for that year, but Big Ben
Hmm.
is going to for sure get around at least 4,000 passing yards, if not more. But what was really surprising is with Minka Fitzpatrick there, their defense still only allowed 300 and fucking 3 points. They were a way crappier offensive team. That means your defense is out there more often on the field, and they had 65 less points scored on them than the year before. So I think that defense is going to hold firm. I mean, they brought them to the playoffs last year, dude, and their offense sucked. I had nothing against the Ravens. I think they're both going to end up with a tie. I just think that the Steelers are going to win one or two over the Ravens when it matters most. I think they're going to end up beating more people in that division. So I think that defense is going to hold firm and they're going to squeeze their way into the top right there.
Yeah, I can't wait until you watch those two teams play. What's I'm just looking at their schedule now. They play each other kind of in the middle of the season at Baltimore in October, and then versus Baltimore on Thanksgiving Day. Uh, so that'll be fun just to kind of watch those two teams grind it out. It's power football at its finest with some flashy plays down the field. I was listening to Hall of Famer Steve Young on the radio the other day, just talking about the Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson specifically. And his main takeaway was that in order to be successful in the playoffs and in games that really matter, you got to be able to throw from the pocket. And these scrambling quarterbacks tend to have difficulty doing that time and time again when you're playing tougher and tougher teams. And he's a great, person to say that. I mean, Steve Young is one of the best kind of scrambling improv quarterbacks of all time. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those two teams fare out in the year long battle that it will be. And they're both two good teams. There's no doubt about it. And it wouldn't surprise me if either of those two teams were in the AFC Championship game.
For sure, for sure. Um, let's move on to the AFC East. We got the Patriots, Jets, Bills, and Dolphins.
Fins up, baby.
Yeah, I figured you'd say something about that. I'm gonna dive in here and just kind of bury that narrative real quick. Um, I think the Jets might be better than the Dolphins this year. I'm gonna come out and say it. I think the Dolphins are gonna be fun to watch and points wise, but I think they're gonna struggle, and I think you're gonna see Tua a lot earlier than most people expect. I think you're gonna see him about halfway through the year. And nothing against Tua. I just think he's not going to have as much health and as much weapons that he needs to be really successful in this first
Hey,
year.
the plan right now is that Tua's not even going to play until the games don't matter anymore. So, just being down here near Miami, yeah, the narrative is Tua probably around Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Now that being said, um, Mike Lombardi, popular journalist for the NFL, he's predicting that the Dolphins are going to utilize Tua in the offense in some weird plays here and there just to get his feet wet. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there, but they're not going to be a playoff team. They have spent a lot of money on their defense. They've got the most expensive secondary in football, I believe. So I think they will be a little tough in the air. But yeah, they're nothing to write home about. The Jets are still the Jets, probably 5 to 6 win team on a good year this year. Mike Greeny, a popular journalist as well, he's a big Jets guy, and he's saying that Sam Darnold's got all the tools in the world. It's just the organization hasn't really built anything around him to support him.
I don't know. And you have their head coach there just doesn't seem to like their main running back either. I just don't understand why they're bringing in Frank Gore. That just makes no sense to me.
Uh, why don't you go with the
He's
young
gonna run
guy?
him.
I don't know.
He's gonna do it because he did it in Miami when Kenyon Drake was there, and look what happened when he popped out of that fucking shit show.
Well,
He
Gore's
was
what,
immediately,
37 years old now?
yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Le'Veon's
I get
30
it, but
something.
yeah. So no, I've got Dolphins and Jets. Being on the lower bubble of 4 to 7 win team maybe.
Sure.
And then I've got this is gonna be kind of my big whoa. I don't necessarily think the Patriots are gonna make the playoffs this year.
They've
I
had a
think
lot of
that's
guys opt out.
yeah, they've had a lot of guys on defense opt out,
Hmm.
and that's where they need to stay stellar. I don't think Cam's bad. I think he's going to honestly be really great for fantasy too, but I think that it's going to be trying to bring the Patriots back. And I think with the way the Bills defense, and let me throw something at you. I'm, Diggs is gone. Fine, whatever. I don't mind. I think he's a great player. All that diva shit was getting really annoying. You can go play in Buffalo. That's fine. Still love the guy.
Hmm.
But having him on there, I also noted that the Bills staff, you're talking about the return of people. If someone's opting out for COVID, the Bills have like 92% of their returning starting staff coming back, and that's not including Stephon Diggs, who's now an addition for it. So I think the Bills are just going to be the most consistent team, and they were a playoff team last year. I think they're going to be a playoff team again this year. And I think just having these players in the division, I think you're going to see a couple upsets with the Dolphins against the Pats. Having excuse me, Brian Flores being from Patriots, you kind of saw that with Matt Patricia too, where you can kind of pull a fast one because you kind of know Bill Belichick's style, right? You have a better
Mhm.
chance of guessing what he's going to do. So
Mhm.
I don't even have the Patriots right now currently in the playoffs. I
Yeah.
could be wrong. We haven't seen any football
Sure.
in so long. It's hard to
You
just
can't yeah, you can never count out the best coach of all time, right?
no.
The
I
Patriots are still gonna be tough. They're not gonna
exactly.
roll over.
I don't think
Um,
they are, but I think like you gotta understand. I got 12-4, 11-5, 11-5, 11-5, 10-6, 10-6, and a 9-7 team,
yeah.
all making the playoffs. That's those are good teams, man. Those
Bel
are good records. Not everybody can get it, and without an offense, it's really fucking hard.
Belichick plays chess while the rest of us play checkers, right? And maybe it's a ploy to tank for Trevor Lawrence and try to get the Clemson quarterback next year. Who knows? I don't see the Patriots being the worst team in football, though.
No, I
Cam
know.
Newton is not that bad, even if he only can play half a season for injury concerns.
I see
I
them as
still
like
think they'd be okay,
an 8-8 team, or potentially a 9-7. That's
which is
just how I
still
see it.
scary because
If
even
they
if they
get
get in
into
the
the
wild
playoffs,
card
it's
round,
scary. It
yeah,
is. No, I get that. I'm just saying. I think that this is just me trying to be bold at predictions. Like I said, we haven't seen any preseason. We haven't really seen many of the guys play. We don't have a feel for the actual teams yet. We will after this weekend, which is gonna why this Sunday is so fucking exciting.
yeah,
But
can't
just
wait.
for now, we'll go over our playoffs after we go through each division. But I like to throw out that kind of curveball, man. Like I just don't think
Sure.
I got the Bills on top. Who you
Yep.
got on top? We've
Me
kind of
too.
been going through.
Me
I'm
too. Yeah,
curious.
I have the Bills
Okay.
as well. Just last thing about the AFC East and specifically the Bills. This is the first time I think in a while that I can remember that they're the favorites to win the AFC East. So we'll see,
I think it's been
how
like 6 years.
yeah, we'll see if Josh Allen can rise to the occasion and be more accurate. He's definitely good on his feet. He's good at moving the ball. So we'll see how it goes. That defense should be good, if not great. So definitely the favorite, and we'll see how it goes. And
Yep.
for the
And
rest
like
of
I
the
said,
NFL, it'll be refreshing to see another team represent the AFC East in the playoffs.
most of their starting players from last year are coming back too. And like I said, with a COVID season, without a lot of practice, without a lot
Hmm.
of OTAs and all that extra, preseason stuff, you aren't really ready game speed. But to have everybody, kind of returning and knowing all your plays, you don't have to, teach and teach as many players. I think it's going to be a big help this year. I think it's going to be a huge deciding factor on how rusty you start out and how well you're going to play. I think that's why the
Yep.
Chiefs did so well last night. I think you got a brand new running back with the Texans. You don't have your wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins anymore. While the Chiefs had like everybody returning except a new, you know, piece to play with. Clyde
Yeah.
Edwards-Helaire, you got a new running back, so even upgrade, so to
Yeah.
speak. So
All right. Well, next up here, we've got the AFC South, the Texans, Titans, Colts, and Jaguars. Obviously, last year, the Titans surprised everyone by going into Baltimore and winning, and then going into New England and winning, riding the legs of Derrick Henry. Just really a great story to see Tannehill kind of rejuvenate his name in the NFL. I mean, all
oh,
he
he
was
balled
a
out.
game manager.
He balled
Um,
out though.
but I don't see them doing that twice. I really don't. I mean, that defense should still be good. They lost a couple pieces up front. I believe their rookie, their first round pick here just got arrested for a DUI the other day. Gonna have to double check that. But
Who?
so trouble in paradise, I guess there. But look, Derrick Henry, can he do it twice? I don't know. It's going to be I think a three-horse race there. The Jaguars, Gardner Minshew, Minshew Mania. It's fun to watch, but they're gonna have two wins come Thanksgiving, and they might win a couple garbage games for the end of the year to ruin their chances of getting the number one overall pick. That seems to be a theme in Jaguars history. But for me, I think main talking points are what are the Texans going to look like? Obviously, against the Chiefs, it was a little bit of a slow start, losing Hopkins, new running back, as you alluded to. It's going to take time for them to really gel, but Watson's still a great quarterback and can definitely put the team on his shoulders. Uh, to me, before I let you get into this, I think the Colts are the dark horse in this division. What are your thoughts here so far?
Um, yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that. One thing I will comment about is was it really exciting to see? Bill O'Brien actually, and I'm sorry, that's the Texans, actually using David Johnson a lot in that game. They were
Mhm.
not shy about using their new toy either. And when you change teams as a wide receiver, I think it can be a little bit more difficult to assimilate well versus a running back. Because, I mean, it's a lot easier to take some dump passes or handoffs from your quarterback versus running routes, and you don't have that rapport necessarily all the time. So I'm not saying it won't happen. I think it will happen with DeAndre Hopkins over the Cardinals. Another story for later, but just saying it was really exciting to actually see him get a good workload. I think they're going to utilize him quite a bit, and I think they need to if they want to be more successful. See where they started failing? Not failing, but falling behind. They were throwing the ball a lot. They weren't running it as much.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, Watson can escape so many attempts of a sack last night, but having to throw the ball that often and just knowing that it's just going to be a pass rush is, I mean, you got to switch it up. So I like the Titans this year though.
Do you?
I I do. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I just think they're going to be a mediocrely good playoff team. I
Mhm.
think they're going to go like roughly like 10-6 this year. I think it's got to be on the heels, like you said, of Derrick Henry and on a play action pass style with AJ Brown. I think they'll be great with it. I think AJ Brown is just a monster too. That guy is so physically fit; he'll knock you over. I mean, you saw what he did last year, and I mean, he was on pace for being a top 10 wide receiver fantasy wise for the last half of the year too.
Yep.
So, but
Yep.
I agree with you. I think the Colts are going to take this one. I think I have the Colts. Yeah, no,
Do you?
definitely.
You have them
Definitely
as well?
winning.
I
And
just
you know what? With
yeah.
DeForest Buckner on their defense now, and with one of the best O lines in the league, and now, in my opinion, with Jonathan Taylor, and now you have a competent older quarterback who loves to check down the ball too. So you're going to have a lot of options. You got T.Y. Hilton, you got Paris Campbell, who I think is going to show up a little bit this year. It's going to be fun to watch, and Philip Rivers is an upgrade for sure. I think they're
Yeah.
going to take that division by storm.
I think so too. The Colts were what I think 6-1. I think heading into to week 7 or week 8 of the season, depending on when their bye was. And then they had a bunch of one-score games to end the year that they came up short with.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, they're there. Their defense was a little injury riddled toward the end of the year last year as well. I think if you're Indianapolis, you're sitting pretty right now, just knowing that the Texans got rid of their best player in the offseason, and you're banking on the Titans really being a run first team, and can they do it twice and be that powerful of a team in the trenches
Well,
to win those games? But I mean, the Colts have a great offensive line. Do you remember that clip last year of Quentin Nelson
yep.
pulling out of the left guard spot? He's a freak. And then obviously we know Jonathan Taylor pretty well in his speed and what he can bring to that offense, countering Marlon Mack. So yeah, if Philip Rivers can stay within himself, not turn the ball over, and put up, a 2 touchdown passes a game while the rushing offense gets a touchdown or two as well, I think the Colts are in pretty good shape here to win 9 to 11 games without question.
Also, just to confirm, Isaiah Wilson, their offensive lineman pick, did get arrested for a DUI.
You were able to confirm that? Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
was double checking. I didn't
Yeah.
want to get that wrong. I saw it before we started here. So
All right.
yeah, you
Let's
know,
uh let's
we'll
move
see.
on to what I think we're probably. I don't know how much time we need to spend really in this division. The AFC West, we got the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers.
Hmm.
Um, I think Broncos and Chargers are. I think they're all going to be pretty decent teams. I think Broncos and Chargers are going to be a 5-7 win team this year. I think Broncos are going to be exciting with all their new players, but now with Cortland Sutton kind of being injured, the Von Miller injury for the season, and Bradley
That
Chubb still being
that really
hurt.
hurts. Yep.
That's
Now that you
yeah,
can
that's a
double team
lot.
Chubb all
Yeah,
day long.
that's going to be tough. So I just see them struggling this year, which is I think they're going to they're still building up. I think people expect things to rebuild too quick.
Hmm.
Same goes for the Chargers. I think you're going to see a quarterback switch mid-year, and I think you're going to see him struggle. But you've also signed Keenan Allen to a nice extension, so you've got a solid wide receiver. Dude, I don't know. Have you been watching Hard Knocks at all? Have
I saw the first 2 episodes. I haven't caught up since.
Have you seen where it shows Keenan Allen facing off 1v1 against some corners?
I'm sure he just destroys them.
Oh my god, he's just insane. He's
He's a
so
freak. He really
insane.
is.
He is so good. And I think with a rookie quarterback, you're going to see a lot more like dependence on one wide receiver and a tight end versus like throwing all over the place. You know, that
Yeah.
you just develops as a quarterback and maybe later, but then I got the Raiders. I think are going to be really fun to watch this year. I think Derek Carr is going to be supporting potentially 1,000-yard receiver, maybe two.
Oof.
Ooh, with
That's a lot.
Brian
Y-
Edwards isn't their new wide receiver, their third round, and Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs.
I
I don't
think,
know.
and you got not it's Tyrell Williams, right? I'm pretty sure he got hurt and he is done for the year, or at least out for a little bit here.
Yeah, I just you never know with the Raiders. I mean, knock on wood if you're with me,
He's on
but
IR right now, so I mean, but
yeah.
here's my point. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be the centerpiece of that offense, and I think that's what's really going to drive them. And you got awesome speedsters on the outside as your wide receivers, and one of the better catching tight ends, um, pass catching tight ends in the league, in Darren Waller. I think you're going to see Derek Carr do well. I mean, he doesn't really throw picks that often either. He's a pretty good quarterback. I mean, not a big fan of the guy, but I'm just saying.
hmm
So I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. I'm going to say it. I know they were only, 7-9. They're getting close last year, but
they picked up a couple pieces here in the offseason defensively. Kwiatkowski, the former Bears inside linebacker, is solid as it comes. Probably not a Pro Bowl linebacker, but he's a guy that can play 16 games a year. Good tackler, a good leader on that defense. So I think that's a plus there in their linebacking core. And last year rookie Jonathan Abram, number 24, the strong safety. I think he's one of the hardest hitting strong safeties in the league. Unfortunately, he got hurt, a season-ending injury, I believe in week 1, if not week 2. But I'm excited to see him fully healthy and back into the game. And yeah, we'll see. The Raiders' offensive line was middle of the road last year, but if they can, keep Derek Carr upright, open up holes for Jacobs, and yeah, as you alluded to, Ruggs, Edwards, and Waller on the outside, that's a really good receiving core. And Derek Carr is looking to prove himself.
he
New
had
city.
21 touchdowns last year and 8
Yeah.
interceptions, and he
Yeah.
didn't have anything for wide receiver. Um, who was There's a rookie that was on their team, or either a rookie or a sophomore player, and he started to kind of break out towards the end of the year. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Hunter Renfro. You remember him?
Hunter Renfro.
I
I have
think.
him in our fantasy league. Yep.
Oh, nice, nice. I think having all those like actual weapons around who can separate and get open. You have three wide receivers that can do that. You're going to be able to sustain a good passing offense, especially with a scary run game. But dude, the Chiefs are taking this one.
Oh,
You just
without question. And we don't even have to talk about the Chiefs too much. They're scary. All their rookies looked really good
Dude, their
last night.
rookie cornerback
Um,
looked good last night too.
Andy Reid's got that team well-oiled machine. They're going to score 30 points a game. Mahomes is the best.
Did you like that face
It
shield?
sucks. The face shield. He needs
Yeah,
windshield wipers on that thing or a towel at least. Why didn't anyone get him a towel? Like
because no one wants to get sick.
what the hell?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Here's the fun part, man. I want to know I'm not sure if you've got them all set at this point. AFC playoff teams. I've got who I think is going to take the first round bye this year. Remember, guys, we got the new playoff format. You got
Mhm.
an additional team this year as a wild card, so you're only going to have one team that's got a bye. Um,
So I think the way that we have it for division winners, we've got two teams out of the AFC North that make the playoffs: Ravens and Steelers. Division winner up for grabs. We have the Bills in the East, the Colts in the South, and then obviously the Chiefs in the West. I think the Chiefs are the only team to make the playoffs out of the West, and then it's gonna come down to Texans, Titans, and Patriots for the rest of the playoff spots. You seen anything different?
oh, I've got my personal predictions of what I think could potentially happen if
hmm
things fall a certain way this year. I do like what you're saying. I think my options would be at this point, you got Titans, potentially Patriots. I'm gonna say the Browns, honestly, and the Raiders.
Really?
Yeah, I just I think the Texans are gonna struggle this year. I think they're, their potential. I just think without DeAndre Hopkins having to rely on somebody who is honestly he's injury prone, and I'm talking
Mhm.
about Will Fuller. Y- I just am worried about that long term stability, especially without playing some real fast and go football for shit like the whole year.
Mhm.
So here's what I ended up with. I have the Colts taking the bye. I have them at 12-4. I think they are going
Wow.
to
What?
dominate. I think they are going to dominate this year.
Over the Chiefs? You think the Chiefs are gonna win less than 12 games?
I think with a more stable run game and a better defense, I think if they run the ball down their throat, yeah, because that's where you beat the Chiefs. You run the football.
Bold
You don't
prediction.
you don't beat the Chiefs by going through the air. They've got a pretty good secondary. You got to run it down their throats. It's how you're going to win. And I think with that insanely good offensive line and with Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack as a one-punch duo, I think they're both going to be great this year. I think they're going to be I think they're going to light the world on fire as a tandem. And then
Yeah.
I've got the Chiefs at 11-5, the Steelers at 11-5. I have the Steelers taking the division. I just think they're going to win more interdivision games, but I also have the Ravens at 11-5. They're just a wild
We've
card team for me.
we've got the Colts at Steelers week 16.
Oh, that's going
It's
to
a
be
1 o'clock game
fantastic.
right now, but that could be flexed. So that's a good matchup there toward the end of the year to maybe,
Yep.
win a division or lock down a playoff spot.
And
Um,
then I've got the Bills taking the AFC East with 10-6. And then my two playoff wildcard teams are the Titans at 10-6 and the Raiders at 9-7.
rate you okay? All right. That's
It's not
fair.
a great record. It's a 9-7. Just snuck in, but I just think the Patriots are going to struggle more than people think. I think the Texans are going to struggle more than people think. And it
Hmm.
came down between the Browns and the Raiders, and I just don't know with the new head coach. Honestly, if I had to pick, it would be Browns or Raiders. Either one would not surprise me to make it in over the Patriots and the Texans this year. I would have it labeled as both. I'm probably a little bit more biased because I want to see the Raiders and I think they have the talent and the excitement for it and the better defense this year. I think a lot of players are going to step forward. Um, Also, though, for the Browns, I just think with a new head coach and changes in what they're going to be doing is going to be a little bit much, and it's always hard that first year. So I think that's just what I'm predicting is going to happen there. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm
who
taking a
you got?
look at this right now, and I've got 6 teams highlighted, and I know 7 teams from each conference make it. And man, gosh, the Patriots really not going to make the playoffs. Are the Browns going to be any good? They should be, right? Do I not have the Texans in? I don't think it's going to be the Broncos' year to make the playoffs, especially with
Not with those
losing,
injuries. Not
out
with
the
those
injuries.
injuries. No, and
Yeah,
it's probably going to be better for them as a franchise moving forward.
yeah.
It's a COVID-ridden year. You're going to get a better draft pick. You're going to watch your players excel and do better on offense. You're just going to struggle on the defensive side.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. Well, all right. I'll make my decision here. I'm gonna have the Browns as the last team then, because just thinking about it, I think uh, Browns over Patriots
So
for the
you
last
so
playoff spot.
all right, so we got 3 from the AFC North. It's possible, man, with how
Yep.
good they are, and that's why you gotta understand, I would assume that with, like, a 9-7 or 10-6 record,
Hmm.
you're gonna have losses being interdivision, but it wouldn't surprise me, and Browns beat the Ravens last year too, so it's not I mean, interdivision teams, I never question. Like, same thing with NFC North. Every time Vikings play, I play. Every time the Vikings play Bears, Packers, or the Lions, I never count out the other team to win because you play each other so much. You know your tendencies. You're able to play a better game against
Hmm.
them.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right,
Yep. We'll
let's
see.
let's uh let's head on down to the NFC side of things.
All right. NFC East. Eagles, the Washington football team. That's already old.
Yeah.
Cowboys and Giants. I don't think there's much to discuss here in this one. The Cowboys are far and away the best team in this division. Best offensive line, best running back, best probably best quarterback in the division. I like everything that they have going. They're a dark horse for a lot of people to come out of the NFC. And I just think, the Washington football team and the Giants aren't any good. They're maybe 5 to 6 wins here or there. And the Eagles, you never really know with the Eagles. Can Carson Wentz stay healthy? Can that offensive line stay healthy? Their defense is always middle of the road to good, it seems. So Eagles could sneak in a wild card here or there, but I just think it's the Cowboys division to win. What are your thoughts there?
Uh, yeah, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think the Eagles are made of glass. They
Hmm.
just seem to like screw themselves over, shoot themselves in the foot. I could go on all day about this, but I think right now their receiving core is hurting. I think that Carson Wentz hasn't made it through a full season for me to be confident enough for them to take that. I think adding Everson Griffin from experience as a Viking, he's going to be able to wreak some havoc on offensive lines, especially being a veteran. And that dude is just a beast. Then you add CeeDee Lamb, which I can't believe fell to the Cowboys in the draft. Those
Yep.
three wide receivers are terrifying. That's the best wide receiver tandem in the league, or not tandem, trio.
Hmm.
Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and now CeeDee Lamb.
It's pretty scary.
Good luck. Good luck unless you got three incredible corners because you can't cover everybody. I
It's
think
pretty
Michael
scary.
Gallup and CeeDee Lamb are gonna, especially Michael Gallup, is gonna have a huge freaking year. But
Yep.
yeah, I
You're gonna
really
you're gonna
think the
have to
Cowboys
end up
take it.
being in a nickel or a dime defense against them most of the time, like a sub package to get three corners on the field to cover the three wide receivers you just mentioned, and then you got to have a linebacker cover Elliott. So that's a huge advantage for Zeke to come out of the backfield and especially in PPR formats to get some extra catches out of the backfield. Yeah, I think that offense is really potent. Dak is going to try to prove it to himself. And I think the biggest thing that we haven't mentioned yet with the Cowboys is Mike McCarthy, a rejuvenated Mike McCarthy, who was known for being really aggressive through the air with the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, having Aaron Rodgers, it's pretty easy to do that.
He
But
uses his best players. That's
right,
what he does well.
yeah. So I think that's a really good fit. Obviously, it remains to be seen. Health, obviously, being a factor as well, but that's the case for everyone. Um, yeah, I can't wait for tomorrow night. I believe it is Cowboys at Rams in the Rams' new stadium,
Ooh,
SoFi.
it's gonna look
Uh,
so good.
that's going to be a fun game to watch, and hopefully our teams are 1-0 going into that because there is nothing worse
We might
than
have
than
to we might have to log on and do a little bit of live live live
yeah.
stream some shit
The
during the
There's
game, right?
nothing worse though, and you know this because our teams play at the noon 1 o'clock slot, depending on where you're at a lot. There's nothing worse than having your favorite team, Vikings Bears, lose in that early window, and then the rest of the day is just like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
care,
No,
you know. So hopefully we're
honestly,
1-0. I mean, you play the Packers
no.
tomorrow. I
We'll
play the
we'll get
Lions
it.
tomorrow.
We'll get into that when we get in the NFC North. We'll talk about
Yeah.
our Week One matchups here, just with the NFC North. We're borderline sports, but our main focus on the borderline is the NFC North. So we'll be sure to bring you their starting lineups, who we think is going to do well, and who they're facing off each week, no matter what.
Hmm.
Sometimes we'll do the rest of the season. We got more time, but yeah, sorry, not trying to interrupt. Just
For
reiterating,
sure.
since this is our first podcast, most people probably aren't gonna know, and that's also why we do NFC North last when we're going through this right now, so we can kind of touch base on that. But
So NFC East, Cowboys,
yep,
maybe Eagles, but we'll find out here. With the South though, the South is going to be entertaining. Obviously, huge news with Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Gronk, getting the band back together. That's going to be really fun to watch.
God, those
Can
two
go.
butt buddies.
Yeah, I know, I know.
I'm
I don't
just
blame them. Tampa's beautiful, so I don't
I
blame them
swear
at all.
they are in love with each other, and I don't blame them.
Bruce Arians too. It's going to be fun. I can't
If I
wait for
was
the
Gronk,
matchup
I'd
tomorrow.
probably love him too.
Yep, yep. It's your boy. I mean, can't have one without the other.
Oh, they have
Uh,
so much fun together too. Sorry, man.
Saints,
Keep going.
you can never. No, you're good. You can never count out Sean Payton and Drew Brees ever. I mean, yes, Drew Brees is getting a little old. His arm might not be as strong anymore, but they just signed Kamara moments ago to that extension. He's going to be hot going into the year. They've got a great receiving core. They're going to
We
score
gotta get, like, a
points.
breaking news. Doo doo doo.
Yeah, yeah, we
Like a
do. We
news
will.
segment.
We need a soundboard for sure.
Yeah, we'll get there, we'll get there.
Falcons, I wouldn't worry about them. Not going to waste my time with them. They've got some weapons on the outside, but I think that's it. Todd Gurley, he's not the Todd Gurley of 4 years ago. And then
What do you think's gonna happen? I gotta ask. I'm sorry, I need to know.
uh,
Do you think he's gonna make it the full season?
probably not. Probably not. Just based on lack
Many
of off season
touchdowns?
and
How many yards? I wanna know how
less
much
than a
points.
thousand, less than 1,000 yards, and less
Total
than
or just rushing?
just rushing.
Okay.
Total yards could be 1,000, but less than 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm gonna have him around, like this is all if he's healthy, I think he'll get over 1,000 combined for sure. I think he'll even get close with rushing if he's healthy. The thing is, I don't think he's healthy.
Hmm.
I think there's a reason the Rams left and took another high running back draft pick. Maybe not like first round, but still, would they grab him in the second or third round?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it screamed, and they still owed him money that year, and they didn't care. I think they still owed him like 10 to 15 million. So that just screams stay away. I would be shocked if he has more than 700 yards or 5 touchdowns. I think they're gonna have to find some help in the midseason. I don't think he's gonna make it through. We could be wrong though and watch him come back and just spit in our face, but it just the way the organizations have been moving and the way the money is speaking,
Hmm.
I don't drop something like that unless I know like and the Rams are more of a win now sort of team. They need to they're built to be a playoff team now, not in 2 years. So uh, they're gonna need all the help that they can get, and to get rid of him, it just screams volumes to me.
It does. It does. Without question. On paper, it's still talking about the Falcons now is an exciting offense. Um, with all the weapons all across the board, all the names that people know and love, but I just don't think their defense is anything special. This could be Dan Quinn's last year. I don't know what his contract looks like, but expectations aren't being met. Obviously, that Super Bowl comeback loss is still haunting them. Awesome stadium, though. I'll give them that, but I think that's about it for the Falcons. And then the Panthers are another interesting team. I think their defense is going to take a step back. They've lost Luke Kuechly to retirement. It's going to be fun though to watch Teddy Bridgewater.
You mean
Uh,
play against them? Play against that defense?
what? Sorry.
It'd be fun to play against that defense. They're gonna fucking suck this year, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
start up like fantasy wise, you better start up any running back that's gonna be facing the Panthers. I mean, it's just gonna be a bloodbath.
Mm, Teddy's going to be throwing a lot, and from a fantasy perspective, I
Run
like that
CMC.
because they're going to be down a lot. Yes, obviously CMC is there. I do love their um, DJ Clark. Who was that? Their wide receiver. Um,
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, thank you. Thank you. DJ Clark, someone else. Yeah, DJ Moore. I mean, he's exciting. He had a really good year last year with inconsistent quarterback play. Obviously, CMC is CMC, number one fantasy running back, um, far heads and shoulders above the rest. But yeah, that defense is going to be bad. They're going to be down a lot, especially when they're going against high-powered offenses within their own division. So I think division winner coming out of that. I'm gonna go with the Saints. With the Bucks close behind. What do you think?
I just wanted to add the other wide receiver on the squad that's new is Robbie Anderson. I'm just curious to see. I know Curtis Samuel is kind of their deep threat, but I think Robbie Anderson just is more of an athletic build to be able to go up and grab more of those 50-50 balls. So I'm curious to see if will Teddy throw the ball deep. I mean, he historically kind of has not. He's been more of a short intermediate pass thrower and lots of them. So that's
Hmm.
great for DJ Moore. But I'm curious how many long bombs are going to pop off for him.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be. I think it'll be a fun division as a whole to watch offensively. Um.
Oh, for sure. I got to watch. It's NFC South and AFC North. All those teams are going to be extremely interesting. All new
Mhm.
toys. All we'll see what's going on. So
Yep.
I agree with you though, and I don't think we need to sit and spend all day. Bucks have their same awesome wide receiver core as long as Mike Evans still stays healthy. I don't know if he's playing or not,
Yep. Questionable for week 1.
but I've also heard that Scotty Miller is one of Brady's favorite targets too. So I think they're going to be just fine. Um, I just don't see them winning over the Saints. I think the Saints defense is going to be the deciding factor in this matchup, and I think
Hmm.
that with Alvin Kamara now happy and excited and fully healthy, I
Hmm.
think that's huge. And I
Yep.
think with Michael Thomas and now Emmanuel Sanders, they're just better. So I think the Saints are going to take this one. I do agree with you though. I think I have the Bucks as a potential playoff team as well. So I think they're going to do well. But historically, quarterbacks can struggle with the Bruce Arians system too.
Hmm.
But like it's Tom Brady, so I don't really see that being much of an issue. And with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, OJ Howard and Gronk as weapons, and now Leonard Fournette as their running
Hmm.
back, dude, Brady's gonna be happy. He's gonna
Yep.
be like slap happy. I hope they just let him fly.
The biggest question for me with Tampa Bay, and it's something that Brady has always had the luxury of having, is a really good offensive line. If Brady's
Yep.
getting knocked down, that offense is done. They're not going to do a damn thing.
Yep.
That defense was good statistically last year, considering the fact that Winston threw 30 plus interceptions.
Yep.
But the Bucks still scored a lot defensively. That's hard to repeat year after year. Um, so we'll see. But yeah, I think the Saints are the best team all around. But tomorrow's matchup is going to be so much fun in the dome in New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Yep. And you know what? I reiterated this earlier too, that we haven't seen them play yet, and so we
Yep.
don't know how they're gonna react. So, or not react, excuse me, how they're gonna be like cohesive as a unit. You just don't see that. That's a lot of change for a team. A
Yep.
new quarterback and a head coaching system that's been different from what he's been doing for so long. I'm sure he'll pick it up great. You saw right away in the offseason, he was meeting with all his teammates, trying to get a rapport going. But who says, I mean, to your point about the offensive line, what about that rapport?
Hmm.
What about the play calling? I mean, it's a lot. I think they'll do well. I really do, but I think they will struggle against better defensive lines. So I like where your head's at. I like the Saints, and I like moving on to the NFC West. We got 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Some fun teams. A big trade with DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals. What are your thoughts here? I know the 49ers were in the Super Bowl last year. That's kind of hard to repeat, though. Not a lot of teams go back there.
Hmm.
I think they were riding a coattails of an incredible defensive season, but I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think they're going to get back and be the division winner again? They still got the Seahawks and the Rams in there. This is a tight,
I
tight race.
Yeah, going into recording today, I was going to say, and I think I will still say that the NFC West is the best division competitively in football.
Thanks,
Um,
Lions. Get better.
yeah, well, the NFC North is something else, but yeah, the Niners obviously a great coaching staff, just a powerful team in the trenches, a really solid defense. I love what Shanahan does as an offensive play caller. They're a tough team to beat any given Sunday. And same with the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to be at a very percentage-wise small disadvantage with the lack of fans because playing in Seattle is one of the toughest places to play. So early in the season, that's going to be a limiting factor for them. But you can never count out Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. Just a phenomenal duo there. Uh, in my opinion, they're probably the best team in that division. The Rams are a big question
Okay.
mark. Yeah, you don't think is it down to the 49ers
No,
and Seahawks for you?
it's not that. It's not that at all. I can see it. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
don't think about some of these things, and to your point, when we're kind of going through it, it's almost like you're kind of like tilting the needle for me when you're going through some of this stuff. So no, just a few of the things you were saying, I was just like, maybe he's right. You know,
Yeah, we'll
but you
see. I
haven't
mean,
seen them play
we haven't seen
after
him play.
this weekend. You know what? I wouldn't even mind later on Sunday or Monday night to go through and record again and just,
Yep.
give our takes on what we think we saw, who did well, who did not, that eye test. it just means a lot. So no, but continue on. So what are your thoughts on the Rams and the Cardinals then?
The Rams, oh man, have they shot themselves in the foot. They've got no future draft pick
Oh, you
wise.
think so?
I mean, they're scrambling all around. You just mentioned earlier with cutting Todd Gurley. That's probably for financial reasons and performance reasons. But they've allocated that money over to Ramsey in the secondary. I feel like they have a lot of big money on big players. It's boom or bust for them, essentially. I love McVay. I would call him McVay. He's a great coach for sure. I we'll see what Jared Goff can do. He's got weapons around him. The running back situation's a little questionable. We just haven't seen them play. The new stadium's going to be sick. Can't wait to watch the games there at SoFi. But the Rams are a question mark. They could be boom or bust. They could be a 6-win team. If their big guys get injured and they're not playing to their potential because they are limited with cap space, with fulfilling the roster with some decency around the board. Um, we'll see. Biggest question mark there. What are you thoughts though? Thoughts. The Rams' new uniforms and the new logo scheme. That was a hot
I was
take, hot button earlier in the offseason. It's growing on me. I love their helmets.
I don't mind it. I thought it was really funny when everybody I didn't like the first release, but when they took it back and it was like I don't know if they did it on purpose for like a little bit of attention and then came out with the real one, but
hmm
no, I don't mind it. I really don't, and it's not what I'm also focused on. But
No, no, it was a hot discussion.
oh, for sure,
It's something you're looking at every Sunday anyway. So,
I think it
um,
fits better like the helmet, like you know how the way the Vikings helmet, the horn curls around kind of with the
mhm,
helmet, it just fits well, looks well. I I think it was a bold move. It's just, you know,
mhm. As a marketing
oranges and
guy,
apples.
that's always something I'm looking at
I do
for
like the
branding
color
purposes.
scheme though. I do like the fact that you have more like white. Kind of the attention draws you to the ram actually on there, not just having a big horn. You know
hmm
what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, I think it's better. I think let's just leave it at that. I like the horn.
Anyway, so that and then the Cardinals, another very exciting team. Obviously, getting Hopkins to come on over, Kenyon Drake at running back, Kyler Murray in his second year. It's going to be a very exciting team. I think the Cardinals and Rams matchups are going to be really fun to watch, and I think the Cardinals are the underdog in this division. I think they could steal a game or two from the 49ers or Seahawks at home. On the road, it might be something different, but the Cardinals put up points last year.
What if I
Simple as
told
that.
you that I might have them as a playoff team?
It wouldn't surprise me, and especially thinking about the other teams in the NFC. That wouldn't surprise me, and I might have them there as well.
I don't, but I might. So I've this is where I think the AFC's playoff teams, the division winners, are a lot easier to dictate.
Mhm,
I think it's going to be a challenge for the NFC. No, I agree with most of what you're saying. I I think it's going to honestly come down to health, and I think it's going to come down to the 49ers and the Seahawks. I think that defensive line is just going to be a lot, and the Rams, or sorry, excuse me, the Cardinals and the Rams, their O line is just not going to be the same against that scary pass rush. I do have the 49ers winning out without Jadeveon Clowney. I just think the pressure difference is gonna allow the 49ers to run the football a lot more against the Seahawks, and they're still gonna be able to apply quite a bit. That being said, I still have the Seahawks as like a 10-6 or 11-5 team. I just have the 49ers beating them division. And I do believe the Seahawks are going to be a playoff team. I think that's one of they always come in. Russell Wilson is just so clutch. He's so fucking clutch. And the way they always try to run the football, I just think their defense might struggle. So, and then Russell Wilson will carry them back to victory. What
yeah,
do you think about that? Who do you
it's
got on top?
yeah.
It's tough.
You know, I've always had something for the city of Seattle, and Russell Wilson obviously being a Badger, and then Pete Carroll is just an awesome head coach. Um,
I think
I,
it's flipping a coin. I
it
really
is
do.
flipping a coin, and I'm doing that in my head. I'm gonna give the nod to the Seahawks simply because they they didn't win the division last year, and
Yep.
as you mentioned earlier, the 49ers, it's tough to repeat.
Well, it's hard to
And
repeat the Super Bowl appearance,
sure,
not so
sure.
much the division, but yeah, when you're that close, I see what you mean. I see what you
Yeah,
mean.
I think it could flip. But if I'm wrong and the 49ers are on top, I'm not going to be surprised at all. So, excuse me. Yeah, out of those four teams there, I have the Niners and Seahawks as the teams to make the playoffs.
I agree. I have them both as 11-5 or 11 win teams, like basically tied. I just have, like I said, 49ers winning a couple key interdivisional games.
All
Um,
right,
let's move on
awesome.
to the important. What are you gonna? I want to know. Are the Bears winning the division this year?
You say that tongue in cheek. The good old black and blue division. Um, I'm gonna hold off on the Bears for a minute because I'm gonna actually ask you about what you think about the Minnesota Vikings, who are a team from a national perspective where their window is closing. They've
I.
Do you agree or disagree?
It depends on what side of the football, and it depends on what position. I think the
Both.
moves they have made actually are way better. So if you
Yeah.
look at this, you have the only thing is you got an aging Harrison Smith, but he's only about 30, 31 years old. So he's not
Hmm.
really incredibly old. Defensive players last longer. You got free agent or not free agent, free safety, um, Anthony Harris, who's also a solid veteran and was tied for leading the league in interceptions last year. You got Eric Kendricks, who's still in his late 20s, and Anthony Barr, I'm not the biggest fan of, but he's still a solid linebacker. He's nothing special. He's not like Kendricks is. And then, shoot, it's escaping me. I know Ben isn't their right outside linebacker anymore. I'd have to figure out. I heard it was someone who got promoted. I think the linebacker core is going to be a little weak. But for this year, you got Daniil Hunter, who's hurt right now
Hmm.
because they got Yannick Ngakwe. I think Yannick Ngakwe
Great
and
trade.
Daniil Hunter were top five each in pressure forced fumbles or interceptions from quarterbacks. Both of them were. That's fucking incredible to have them both on one defensive line. And then you also traded for the old Ravens defensive tackle, Michael Pierce. He's opted out. He apparently has asthma, and with this whole COVID stuff,
Yep.
but he still has retains the same 2 year contract. So he's gonna come back and have a 2 year contract with the Vikings still. So I think that defensive line is young and scary. They're all in their like 25 to 27, and
Yep.
they're monsters. Do I think they're going to be great this year as a defense? Fuck no. You got all rookie cornerbacks basically, and that's tough. I think they'll develop really well, and I think the defense will actually take a step back this year and then a step forward in the following year, which is
Interesting. Okay.
which is just with all the stuff going on with your defensive line being like a staple, being able to solidify a 4 or 5 person pass rush and get pressure consistently is
Hmm.
what makes the Vikings defense so successful. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. Maybe they've got some backups and they'll have some great games. Um, that being said, I am so fucking excited for the offense. I don't know if anybody knows. We just found out right as we were about to do this. Dalvin Cook finally signed an extension, 5 year. How much was it? 63 million.
Yeah, 563, give or
So
take.
I mean, you're getting paid 12 to 13 million a year, which I think is
Yep, 63.
oh nice. So I think that helps solidify the offense, what you're trying to do. And I think even if he does kind of get hurt from time to time, you also have Alexander Madison, who is a really good backup running back, and Mike Boone. That dude looks like he eats steroids for breakfast. Except I know he isn't. He just is. I mean, try to compete for that backfield. You better be buff as shit. So, and but you see him run and he barrels kind of like the CMC does, and he just ends up punching through the pile somehow as a bowling ball. And so, and not only that, I think you got Irv Smith, who's going to take a step forward as more of a 12-man personnel, with BC Johnson apparently taking a step forward at wide receiver. I don't know how much I believe in that, but I am really excited to see Justin Jefferson, their first round rookie pick, kind of replacing Stephon Diggs, come out and shine.
Hmm.
Because him, Adam Thielen, and BC Johnson are great. I would just love to see a 12-man set with Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith Jr., and then you've also got Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. All those are still dangerous weapons if you don't want to run the ball, but you can also play action. You can audible so easily at the line of scrimmage and still be lining up for the same formation. It's gonna be scary with Gary Kubiak now. I just again see them struggle more on the defensive side, and I as much as I would love to see Kirk Cousins just launch it left and right, I don't know if that's the way they're going to go. So I am going to see them as, and I can't not. I'm having them win the division. It was hard going back and forth between the Vikings and the Packers, but I I don't know. I'm up on the fence because I think they're going to have roughly the same amount of wins. I just think the Packers are going to struggle against other divisions more so than the Vikings. So they may win one or two games against the Vikings. I don't think they're going to win more overall. I just don't
I
think they
think
help themselves out.
a good phrase or a good term to describe the Vikings is they retooled and not rebuilt on that defense.
Yep.
As maybe the narrative a couple years ago was their window was closing, if not had been closed.
If the
When
Yannick Ngakoue trade did not happen, I would be
yeah,
much more on your side. But
yeah.
the fact that
So
you traded a second round pick and then restructured his contract to pay him a lot less for one of the top rushers in the league, for pressures at least,
mhm,
that's incredible. Now he's outside of your other top rusher in the league, and they're both like 25 years old. And Michael Pierce is 27 years old. I mean, you got a solid. You just need to be able to have some backups that are, or I guess starters that can fill in some key pieces. Because having those three is plenty enough to cause double teams. Another thing where you just need special from one of them, something awesome. And I think it's going to happen more often than you think. Just not this year. Not
mhm.
this year.
Yeah, we'll see. I think for me, this division comes down to the Vikings and Packers, with the Bears being the X factor. Um, Everything you just mentioned about the Vikings is valid. A solid defense, some young guys on the outside, if
It's
they
a
can play
teeter
well,
tottery. It's
and
a
yeah,
teeter
and if
tottery.
you can get pressure on the quarterback, especially in this division, that's everything. And
But
then
if you can't, those rookie cornerbacks are going to struggle.
Kirk Cousins is a
Maybe they
solid
won't be,
quarterback. Yeah,
but
yeah, obviously Dalvin Cook is a good running back. Can he stay healthy is the question. You've got Justin Jefferson, Rudolph, and Adam Thielen on the outside. Um, right. So it's there for you guys to win 10 games and win the division. I think ten wins might be enough to win this division.
yep, I do too.
Um, it's going to be a bloodbath. The Packers, the fucking Packers, you can never count, you can never count them out. Um,
No, not as
for
long as
those of
they're
you who
named
don't know,
Vikings.
I did grow up in Wisconsin as a Chicago Bears fan, so I know very well about this rivalry, which tunes perfectly into borderline sports. So it's always been a pain in my butt to watch the Packers dominate the Chicago Bears for the last 25 years, 26 years of my life.
Yeah, it's been
Um,
a while.
you can never count him out. With Aaron Rodgers at the helm, if he stays healthy, you can never count him out.
It's not
He'll
his
always
though.
have that 8 yard out that he's so good at with any receiver on his team, whether it's Valdez Scantling or Adams, or back in the day with Jordy Nelson and
That's who's got to stay healthy. His wide receivers.
yeah, yep. But I think from the outside looking in, they're due to regress on the defensive side of the ball. They have the Smith brothers, which are really good at getting after the quarterback and stopping the run. But they just haven't had a good draft in years. They really haven't. And they've never been a team to splash in free agency, except for maybe a couple off seasons ago when they got a couple defensive players. They went out and got Devin Funchess this year to be that number two, number three wide receiver, but he opted out. They drafted a tight end that no one heard of way too early in this year's draft. They traded up to get Jordan Love, which is kind of a makeup for last year when they wanted to trade up and get Drew Lock, but the Broncos beat them to it. So I think Green Bay is ultimately going to be due for a terrible decade of football. They're due for it, unless Jordan Love becomes another Hall of Fame quarterback. Um, But that being said, as long as number 12 is under center, they've got a really good running back in Aaron Jones. Adams is a top 5 wide receiver on the outside. They're always going to put up points, and they always have a chance to win, which
Do you
hurts
know
me to
what?
say.
Do you know what I have to say about the Packers is I
What's
think
that?
they're gonna regress quite a bit this year. Do
That's
you
what we said
know?
last year,
Do you
and
know
they
how
they
many
lucked their way
games?
into a playoff spot, huh?
That's it. Do you know how they're 13-3 last year? Do you know how many one score
Jesus,
games that they had?
all of them.
9. You know who
Yeah.
some of these one score games were against? Washington football team, Detroit, Chicago, and the other games that they didn't win. I mean, San Francisco 37-8. Good God. They beat up on the Giants. Cool. Good for you. They got shitbagged by the Chargers. I mean, anybody who has a stellar, solid line, they barely beat Carolina by 1 score. I mean, these teams are just. Kansas City was respectable, but it was also without Patrick Mahomes, so kinda not.
Yep.
Detroit again, they screwed Detroit over so effing bad. Philadelphia with all their injuries. I know, I think Denver is a 9 point, but still, you get what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Minnesota and Chicago again, and then it's just I don't think they've got the core enough to manhandle a team. They'll be a playoff team in my opinion, but they will not do well. And if they make the playoff squad, it depends on how well the Bears do and the Lions do, in my opinion. I think they're both potential dark horse candidates. I always think the Lions are. I
I don't.
Matt
Not
Nagy is
this
too
year.
nasty.
Obviously Stafford is a great quarterback and he's very underrated throughout the league, but that's what happens when you play for the Detroit Lions. I don't think them signing Adrian Peterson is going to amount to really anything.
No, it's a health
Um,
insurance thing. It is.
yeah,
They do
yeah,
have to
they
give
did
great
get what
respect to.
is Swift is their
I
their
think
rookie running back.
I think he was the best one in the draft. Yes,
Um, so there's some potential for some pop
and Jeff
there.
Okuda.
They've got yeah, well, here's the thing about Jeff Okuda, he's not starting. He's 3rd on their depth chart right now. I don't know if that means he's just gonna be a slot guy to start because he's a really good man-to-man corner, and, Patricia predominantly plays man-to-man. But the thing with the Lions is that Patricia's tried to bring over that New England Patriots style of defense where they can play any style and adapt to whatever the offense is doing. It just hasn't really clicked, and it's really brought on to more of disorganization versus finding what you're good at and getting better at that.
Yep.
Which is why the Lions were one of the worst teams last year against the run and one of the worst teams last year against the pass, which is why they drafted Okuda. But Okuda's not your starting two corners on the outside to start the year, so
He
that
can't be
brings up
your
some red
starter. He's
flags.
still a rookie, but I mean,
Uh,
you're a main
He's
guy.
number 3 overall and a stud coming out of college. If he's not, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think
Maybe
they'd
it's
rather have him go up against people he can kind of build. Like, don't just throw him against DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I mean? Like, let
yeah.
him
Well,
play
he'd
against
be the
Will
number
Fuller.
2.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
what I'm saying. And then when he starts
Hmm.
dominating, which I still think he will, then he'll
Yeah.
move up. But yeah, I think they could be a points machine. And I still think they're gonna lose, but um, yeah, it depends on how the Bears do. And I'm sorry, man. I think Trubisky's just going to be a curse again. I think he's going to flash and he's going to make Matt Nagy keep him out there. And then he's not going to play well. And then by the time he switches, Nick Foles is going to flash and then not play well. I think they're just going to, I think they're going
Yeah.
to fuck with each other. And I think because he's not sticking with one, it just makes the situation a little worse. Like you brought Nick Foles in and now you're not using him. Like it's just, I just don't see a clear pathway unless Trubisky succeeds.
The only way any of those quarterbacks are going to succeed is if we can run the football. I couldn't tell you how many times last year that we were 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, and we were just, we had to throw. And then obviously Trubisky didn't play well last year. Offensive line didn't protect well last year. But for the Bears, it starts up front with both defensive line and offensive line. If we can run the football and average 4 yards a carry and get Montgomery going, that opens up the RPO. It opens up linebackers playing closer to the line of scrimmage, which opens up those little 5 yard outs to the middle of the field over the linebackers. And another thing about the Bears offense and Matt Nagy's style It is so predicated on utilizing tight ends, which is why we had 9 going into the offseason, but
He just tries
the
to
the
choose.
roster was 90 people, dude. You're gonna have a lot of players for one particular position. Um, so with a Jimmy Graham who's looked well this offseason, and then Cole Kmet, the second round draft pick, who has also looked well in training camp. He looks like he fits the role much better than Adam Shaheen did a few years ago. Um, if the Bears can get productivity from the running game and a healthy tight end and productivity there, I think you're going to look back at Trubisky or Nick Foles, whoever's playing, but starting with Trubisky, and hopefully it's Trubisky throughout the year. Um, I think that will only help just open up the rest of the passing game. It'll open up passing routes, and then if our defense can
If
force
he runs.
turnovers
If
and
he runs.
scores, yeah, he could run the ball too. I mean, he's good at that.
I'm
All
saying, like,
all he
as
has to
football,
do,
he succeeds so much more often when he rushes the ball, not when he
yeah.
panics and sits back and throws. When
Oh,
he
for
rushes
sure.
the ball, then you have to worry about it. And when
Yeah.
you worry about it, that's when you get a little bit easier on the passing game. That's when you get a lot more open throws. You know what
Hmm.
pisses me off? He always runs the fucking ball in Minnesota, and that's what really makes me mad. He doesn't
Yeah.
fucking run the ball against Green Bay.
He plays
Doesn't run
great
the
against
ball against.
Minnesota. And plays well against the Lions too.
Yep.
Just fucking Green Bay. But so that's my take for the Bears offense. If we can run the football and get productivity out of the tight end, I think we'll be
You were 22nd in the or
uh
21st in the league last year.
it'll be impressive to be worse than last year. Last
24
year was
points
terrible.
a game.
Yeah, and even in 2018 when we won the division, 12-4, I think we were like I don't know top 15 maybe, kind of in the teen range. We still weren't like a high powering offense, but
Your
if we can
defense
get
had
after
really
the
good
if we can
turnover.
get after the quarterback, which Mac should be able to do, along with the free agent that we signed this offseason who's going to miss week one. His name eludes me here. It's Robert Quinn. If those two guys can get after the quarterback and we have a healthy Akeem Hicks in the middle who can, stop the run and
Yep,
get pressure
no,
on the
he's
quarterback in the run, and then,
good.
all pro Eddie Jackson and all pro corner Kyle Fuller are going to have a field day. Roquan Smith is going to take another year in development and be that potential stud linebacker that he's supposed to be and that he's shown flashes of already. This could be a scary team. It's just dependent on can we keep the defense off the field, and can the Bears, score points
Yeah.
themselves with a good
Yep.
running game. If
Yep.
that's the case, there's no reason why we can't compete for the division. It's just a huge question mark on can the
I
offense move the ball.
I still just don't see it happening with the Packers and the Vikings being just as. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just don't see it this season with all the crap that's been going on, and then with the fact that the Packers and the Vikings, I just think have a better rosters currently and have a better focused QB, like an actual one that they can rely on, not constantly, you know, teach up. They're more focused on weapons and how do we get, utilize people on the outside versus also like making sure your quarterback can actually make a throw without overthrowing by like 50 fucking yards. So, and like I said, I think it all comes back down to if he rushes the football, man. Because if he rushes the football, then it's 3rd and 7, and sometimes he'll get like a 12-yard rush and then extend the play and then keep things going. Now you're worried about him rushing the ball because he keeps trying to rush the ball until you try to stop him. I mean, he's not dumb. I think the mix of things there might be a bit complicated for his football IQ with what Matt Nagy wants to do.
Yep, and this is the year for him. This is it. He's a free agent at the end of this year.
He might go somewhere else and be really successful, and that
y-
might really piss everybody off
you
here.
want to give him the benefit of the doubt in the fact that it's not his fault he was drafted that high. He only had 13 starts coming out of college, so he doesn't have a ton of experience, which that's a discussion for a Bears podcast. But um, it remains to be seen, and why not? It could happen. It could get crazy, and he could make things click, and the Bears move the ball and score touchdowns like we did in 2018.
Yep.
So we'll see. I think in terms of division winner, um, I'm gonna go with the Vikings this year. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, I just think Kirk Cousins is a solid quarterback. I think they have more weapons than the Packers do. I think they have a better defense than the
They
Packers
need to
do.
score a lot. And I
Um,
and I think with Gary Kubiak, you're gonna see a lot more scoring from the Vikings than you're used to. It's not gonna be all about, "Ooh, look at the defense." It's gonna be a look out. We're gonna try some fancy new things here with our dynamic running back and new receiving core. And Adam Thielen's healthy, and you got to remember he was hurt for a lot of last year, and you're left with only Diggs. That's what you get with only Diggs. There's a reason he's over in Buffalo right now.
mhm.
And not to mention, you go back, you look up. I think Kirk Cousins had like 6 interceptions. 4 or 5 of them were passes that literally hit Stephon Diggs right in the hands, and he popped it up, and that's what caused the interception. He bitches about wanting to throw. He gets the throw, and he either saves the day or he's gonna fuck you over. And instead, you got old reliable and a first round rookie. And apparently, the camp says BC Johnson's doing well, but they say that every fucking year. So I don't know how much I really believe that. To your point, still 10-6 team. I don't expect more. I wouldn't surprise me if they go 9-7 either. So it's
I
whoever wins more outside of our division
I
because
could
the
see
Vikings are
that. Yeah, I could see that for Bears, Vikings, and Packers. The 8-8 to 11-5 kind of realm. Obviously, as I mentioned, a lot of things have to go right for Chicago in order to do that. But I guess this is definitely a homerism thing, but I'm gonna have to do it just for my own sanity. I'll just say the Packers do regress. Rodgers maybe misses a game or two. Um, and they miss the playoffs. They win 8 games. They're not as lucky as they were last year with playing, the Chiefs without Mahomes. And all those one score games against mediocre teams. 13-3 was way above board for them. So I could see definitely some regression there. And so in terms of the NFC as a whole, Cowboys in the East, Bucks and Saints in the South, Niners and Seahawks in the West, and then Vikings, Bears in the North.
and I want to
And that's
throw
7.
in. I got a couple other potentials. These are all my borderline wild card team.
Hmm.
First of all, I think Saints get the bye. I think they're 12-4, 11-5. I think they take the bye this year. I think they're going to be pretty dominant. Um, it's either that or I have the Niners also being 11-5 or the Seahawks being 11-5. I still think that division is so close. It's about one of them is going to be a game off or they're going to be tied, and it's going to be a tiebreaker by wins the division. It's just my opinion on it. So either
Hmm.
one of those, but they're not going to get the bye. And then I got both the Vikings and the Cowboys at 10-6. Um,
Okay.
for my wild card options, so bear with me here. I don't have anybody else from the NFC East. I think the Eagles are going to struggle this year. I think they're going to struggle all year long. Um, this is going to be a little bit out there, but maybe the Falcons. Um,
Really?
I just in a crazy ass world, that's for sure. I don't have them as my actual predictions, but if Todd Gurley does well, or even if they get a running back who does, Matt Ryan also has Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. And I think they're going to light the world on fire with points. So it's just, can you outscore everybody? Because you're not going to beat them with the defense. You know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
you're not going to, yeah. So I just still kind of don't see it happening. I have the Bears, Packers, Cardinals, Seahawks or 49ers, whoever doesn't win the division. But that's more of a lock. And then I got the Bucks and the Rams. Those are all teams that I would not be shocked to see sneak into the playoffs. Now, I think the Seahawks or the 49ers are definitely taking that other wild card spot. I don't know what your thoughts are about on that. I think they're going to be real close. Um, and then this is where it gets hairy. This is where I think somebody else from the NFC North is going to be in there, either the Bears or the Packers. And then for the other spot, it's either going to be the Bucks or the Rams. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, because 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, our power rankings are gonna change a little bit.
Oh no,
You
we'll do
never
this
know.
again. We'll update throughout,
It's
but yeah,
nuts. it's just nuts. It's so hard. There's no clear cut. There's so much parity in this league, which makes it so beautiful and fun to follow, passionately. Um, I have the Vikings as a division winner, the Seahawks, Saints, and Cowboys. Those are my division winners. So that's four there, which leaves three left, right?
Yep.
Because the playoff
Yep.
format's changed this year.
Yep.
So
Only
I'm gonna
one bye.
go. I think I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers, who are gonna have an easier strength of schedule this year because of how bad they were last year. With all the weapons of Bruce Arians, it's just it'd be hard to pick against that. So they get in. The Niners get in, if not win that division, and then it's coming down to Packers or Bears with me, and obviously I'm gonna be a little biased here, and I'm just gonna go with the Bears.
That's
But
that's I would do the same
you know,
thing.
gun to my head, maybe I go with Green Bay because it seems like the safer bet. But
I don't yeah, I was gonna say I don't agree with you on that one.
yeah, if
I
you
just
can't tell
see
by
the
now that it's a hard decision, then you're not listening.
I yeah. I just see the Bears struggling at the QB positioning. I don't see
Yeah.
it being solved this year. That's my only concern,
That's
and I
fair
don't
to
think
say, and it's
the
easy
defense
to say. Yes.
is great enough as they were to score as many points and help bring them to the playoffs the way they did when they were 12-4.
Well, their defense scored a lot of points that year too, and
Yep.
can that happen again? We'll see. All right, let's just cut right to it. Super Bowl matchup. Who you got?
Oh.
Who you got? We're going on an hour here, so
Oh, it's more than that. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll try to cut some stuff down, but I mean, if we have an hour long first podcast, we have an hour long first
Who
podcast.
cares? Yeah, yeah. No, it's a season preview. It's supposed to be long.
Oof, man, it's who I see at the AFC facing off. This is hard though because I don't have the what the playoff schedule would be based off the rankings in front of me.
Sure.
But if I had to say, and like I said, I'm kind of taking a shot on this fucking team. I think I might end up seeing. I think it's gonna be AFC championship. It's gonna be the Colts against Steelers.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think the Colts are gonna win.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the Colts are gonna go to the Super Bowl from the AFC
Wow.
side.
With
Um,
Philip Rivers,
and I think that the
that'd be
Saints
something.
are gonna make their way to. As annoying as it is,
A rematch of the 2008, 2009 Super Bowl, I think.
as long as the Saints don't play the Vikings in the playoffs, I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl.
As long as the Saints don't play the Vikings in the playoffs.
Yeah, for whatever the
The
attack.
Minneapolis Miracle 2.0,
No,
not gonna happen.
they just beat them last year in overtime too. But no, it was that scandal that popped up when there was a concern that the Saints were purposely attacking and trying to hurt Brett Favre in the playoffs against the Vikings, and they won
Oh
that,
yeah,
and they totally did, and they
Bounty
did.
Gate.
Yes, thank you. Um, so fuck the Saints. I hope they're cursed forever against the Vikings in the playoffs. And I firmly believe that. And I think it caused a miracle that I got to witness on that 50-yard line. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
And
I
then I
remember
also,
seeing you on TV.
yeah, I remember getting that snap. That was awesome. And also last year, I think it showed a lot of poise from Kirk Cousins that I think he's a solid quarterback, but if your weapons aren't doing anything for you and the defense is beating you up, what is he supposed to do? He's not a mobile quarterback, so if your weapons suck, he's not going to have an option. So, and he did. He went down the field, drove it down in overtime. A big play from Adam Thielen, and then threw it to Rudolph in the end zone.
hmm
He can win the game, but
I like the bold prediction because
Saints,
um that's not everyone has said that the Colts versus Saints.
I just
People
think
have
the
said
Colts are going to be
Saints.
scary good this year.
Yeah, and they
Scary good.
easily could. Um, I'm gonna go Chiefs just because
Yep. Nope, that's
it's scary. Like they're
it
so
was
good.
it was between those two for me, but I think defense will beat them out in a run game, and that's both what the Steelers and the Colts do.
Yeah.
Great
You know,
defense, a run the ball down your throat.
Yeah,
You
I'm gonna
like it
go.
though, huh? You like my pick?
I mean, yeah, yeah, because that's chaos, and who's not rooting for chaos? No
Well,
one likes,
also, I
you
think
know,
the Cowboys will end up making it to the NFC champion, like to lose against the Saints. I forgot to say that. Sorry.
everyone says they don't like dynasties, but they watch them, you know.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think this could be the start of a Chiefs run of dominance
Oh,
here,
for
for at
sure.
least for the next like 3 years until the Mahomes cap hit really starts to hurt, and maybe they miss on a couple of draft picks, and then they're kind of spinning their wheels in the mud a little bit. But
Yep.
um, so yeah, I'm gonna go Chiefs, and then whew, yeah, I think I'm gonna go Saints as well. Drew Brees one last ride.
Just,
Uh,
I think with Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas and Alvin
mhm,
Kamara, Latavius Murray, Jared Cook, in a good defense, it's gonna be tough.
mhm.
Like I said, as long as they don't play the Vikings in the playoffs, they're gonna go to the Super Bowl. They'll lose in the Super Bowl, which will be awful
Yeah,
to
I
watch.
think yeah, I think I just picked a Chiefs repeat.
Dude,
I
I
think
got
I did.
I really want to see the Colts go to the Super Bowl. I really want to see Philip Rivers take that team and pull what Peyton Manning did.
What's the let me pull up your Bovada. Let me see what the line is on that.
Oh, Super Bowl odds?
Yeah, for the Colts.
25 to 1.
Is it?
Yep,
Is that what you're seeing? Wow.
25 to 1.
All right. Well, throw $100 down. Do it.
I should actually.
I
A
mean,
$100, that's a lot.
all right. Well, I mean, there you have it. There's the preview. Every
Are the
team,
Chiefs
every
really
division.
6 to 1 odds? Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, it's just crazy. That we're about to get into it. Yeah, a few months ago with COVID and everything, we were worried that this wouldn't happen, and now that we have all the major sports back and the NFL, America's sport is coming back. Hopefully, this helps.
Well,
People
the weather
just
changed too, man. I
yeah.
mean, it's been awful having it be like nice out, and you can't really or aren't allowed, I guess, or have to accommodate to the whole pandemic going on right now. That you can't really like go out and do what you would normally do in the summer. And you
Hmm.
want to go outside in the summer, right? You don't want to be always just chilling inside. And I feel like we've been chilling inside quite a bit, or like I don't know, whatever you call social distance activities in the summer, unless it's with close friends or family. I guess
Yeah,
depending on your stance, whatever.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think it's gonna help bring some people back together this upcoming season, and then when it gets cold out, it's not so bad to kind of hibernate, so to speak.
Hmm.
I guess you don't experience that.
I do not, but I do look forward to winter so I can open up my windows and get some fresh air in here. The AC's been
Uh,
pumping all summer long,
yep,
so
it's we started doing that. It's wonderful,
yeah, yep. Winter's a
wonderful.
great time down here for
Yeah,
sure. But all the snowbirds come down, so things
might
get
have to make
busier.
my way. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
come on
see.
down, man. Come on down. We'll do some fishing. Um,
All right.
so all right, well, there's your preview in terms of the NFL and team by team analysis, briefly going through each division and pain points and success points. Do you want to get into the fantasy football discussion now, or should we save that for
You
another day?
know I do.
Okay.
Man.
All
This
right.
is come on. This we gotta throw fantasy. I know this was a longer podcast. I mean, we haven't had a chance to really get into discussion yet. We're wading through the waters, taking it in by dipping our toe, then the feet. Let's go walk in and let's see how the water is. But no, this has got to be about fantasy, man. And we don't have to go dive in too deep. I want to see the players. Uh, you know, this is our first year kind of going through and doing this. I want to make sure that my predictions are going to be a lot more accurate than screw anybody over. We still got to upload this thing, the next day before I don't or before the football starts, I don't think a lot of people are gonna really be listening. So let's
Uh,
be honest here. Let's get some practice in. Still kind of going through what we'd be talking about
sure.
each week, but I think after this we can dive more into mostly fantasy, and we can still hit up obviously the NFC North every podcast, right? We're going to kind
Yeah.
of go over that, or at least maybe even if we split it up into two segments, NFC North is always going to be one of them. Fantasy
Yeah.
can be another. Um, but now let's go through. I still want to go through week one matchups with you. I want to know what you think the upset match of the week is going to be.
Oh man, let me pull up the lines here.
Yeah.
Well,
So, well, I'll give you.
Chicago. Let me just start with a little homerism. Chicago is a 3-point underdog on the road in Detroit, and I'd already bet on that. So if
Right.
that's considered an upset, that would be my upset of the week.
Yes, yes, it would, and this is kind of what we should. I should put the odds up here too. I think this is what's going to make it a little bit more fun for fantasy too, because you find these upsets. These are where the fantasy points are going to be, man. So you think Chicago is going to come back? They're playing at Detroit. Is that correct?
Yeah, at Detroit.
Okay. I really like the pick actually. I think Detroit's defense is going to struggle. Um, And my question is, who do you think is going to see? I mean, you know the Bears better than I do for sure. Who
Hmm.
do you think is going to be that key fantasy option? Who do you think is going to get the most points on that team? We're speaking PPR format, by the way.
Yep. Allen Robinson, without question, Allen Robinson. He was a top 10 fantasy quarter or fantasy wide receiver last year. Mitch Trubisky's best games of his career, more often than not, have come against the Detroit Lions. So he plays against them well. A Rob is, his number one target, his favorite target. So if you're doing DraftKings or the daily fantasy thing, or you're teetering between who to start, I would definitely have Allen Robinson as a lock for a WR1 or WR2.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, my only notch on this is that the last two games Trubisky did play against Detroit was without Matthew Stafford. Do you think that's gonna change that outcome at all potentially? Do you think that it's gonna be a lot different, maybe having that Detroit offense on the field a lot more often than struggling? I know Chicago's got a good defense, so they were kind of eating them up before.
I
Um,
think if anything, it'll help because if Detroit is putting up points, then Chicago might be playing from behind, and if it becomes that kind of aired out game, um, all things I mentioned earlier about Chicago and their offensive woes, but I think Allen Robinson is due for at least 10 targets.
ooh, I
Hopefully that
gotta
comes to 8 catches,
I gotta
so it's
interrupt
8
you here
points.
for a second. I did not realize this. Kenny Galladay is doubtful to
He,
start
he
for
is.
Detroit as well. I did not. Did you know that? I did not
I
know
did.
that.
Yes, I did.
I did not know that. That's going to be a big difference from an offensive perspective from Detroit's part. That's going to be hard to. I mean, you still got Marvin Jones and some solid running backs, but yeah, my bad. I did not mean to jump in, but I
No,
did
you're
not
good.
realize that they're starting and one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, in my opinion, is not going to play. What happened to him? I gotta go find that out.
So yeah, that would be my lock of the week, or upset of the week, excuse me. And then if we were to do lock of the week, where we're picking a favorite to win, um,
Yep, I've got that as one of the other matchups to go over.
mhm.
I've got
I,
match to avoid, the upset match, a juicy matchup. One you think that's gonna have be real close. A bold take on what I'm gonna call it, points of Palooza, man. Which matchup do you think is just gonna be riddled with points, whether they
betting
are
the
or
over.
not? Yeah, for sure. And then a lock for the week. I so you got your upset of the week is Chicago over Detroit at
Yeah.
Detroit, correct?
Yep.
Um oh man, so you got a match to avoid for the week, or do you want me to go over my upset to the week first
Yeah.
before
No,
you?
go ahead. Yeah.
Oh man, this is gonna be tough, but I I'm gonna might be pretty bold too. I'm gonna have to go with the Cleveland and Baltimore game. Well, it's between that and the Chargers and Cincy for me. There's not as big of a line between the Chargers and Cincinnati, and you could see Joe Burrow really light it up. Who's the odds favorite in that? Is that uh, are the Chargers favored to win that game? I'm assuming.
Chargers are +3. Yep.
Yeah, I think Cincy at home, the new hype with Joe Burrow, I think you're going to see a healthy AJ Green out there, and I think you're going to see an offense that clicks a little bit more than you think. I mean, you forget about Joe Mixon. I am worried about that Chargers pass rush. But you got to remember, Derwin James is also done for the season, so their secondary's hurting. So, like I said, I think you're going to have a Tyler Boyd and an AJ Green that are going to be healthy out there. Knock on wood, AJ Green, please. And I think that you're going to see an upset there, and well, at home against the Chargers. I think they're going to struggle with Tyrod Taylor, the whole new quarterback system, no actual practice for the preseason. It's going to be tough for people, man. So I think you're going to see a lot of upside in that game, especially with the QB, some RB pass work with Joe Mixon. I think he's for sure going to be a one this week.
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, yeah,
Hmm.
sorry.
Kind of a big deal too.
I think he's going to be a safety net, and I think for Joe Burrow, and I don't blame them at all. So I think you're going to see a little bit tight end action, but I think you're also going to see a lot of physical play from AJ Green for those safe passes, man. I think he's a lot more competent than people are going to assume. And like
Hmm.
I said, we haven't seen him play, so this is we're all going out on a limb here, you guys. You gotta remember that we have not seen them play really at all full speed. So we will give you updates later this week after Sunday when we watch all the games. Actually, after Monday, maybe we'll talk Monday while the game's going on or while it's close to ending. So we'll try to get that out as soon as possible too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I my lock of the week. It's. I mean, it's easy to pick, but I think I'm going to do the Colts -8.5 against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think the Colts could win that game. 24-10 kind of thing. Um, Not much to really say about that. It just, Rivers might not even have to throw the ball at all. You just
Yep.
hand it off to the running backs and let them do their thing, and they'll put up 2 touchdowns, no problem. And um, yeah, that's my lock of the week there. 8.5. That's a lot of points though, but I just think Jacksonville's due for a 2-win, 3-win season.
So then who do you got as fantasy options? Do you see anything on the Jacksonville side at all? Or are you just focused on Indianapolis? Do you want anybody on Jacksonville's side?
No, not really. Not this weekend. I mean, I have the Colts defense going. Is
That's
actually
that's
if
fair.
you got a league there where you've got defenses, I have them starting in one of my leagues. Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, I wouldn't really guess or wouldn't really put too much faith in any of the Jacksonville players, especially because their running back committee is by committee. Um, there's guys that have never had the bell cow role in there, so it's going to be touch and go for any of them. Are they even going to have goal line situations? Probably not. Um, and then who's their number one wideout out there? He could he's always a flex guy. He's their number one wide receiver. Minshew could find him 4 or 5 times in the game, 75 yards or so, maybe sneak in a touchdown. But um, I would try to avoid Jacksonville as much as possible this weekend.
I kind of disagree with you here.
Okay.
Um,
Your
and
Super Bowl favorite. You're disagreeing. Okay.
no, I'm disagreeing from a fantasy perspective. That's totally
Sure.
my lock of the week. We don't need to talk about that. That's just
Okay.
they're gonna get spanked, and Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor are gonna run up and down.
Hmm.
My comment is the fantasy perspective. I think you're gonna see a struggling Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew have to throw the ball a lot, so I think you're gonna get some fantasy options here. I don't want to play the games with the running backs. I don't want to do that. I don't know who they're going to start. I know they've got a depth chart. You never know if they're going to go out there for 2 plays, and what if he fumbles? What if they do off like there's no solidified starter. I don't like to bank on that. If you want to take your shot, that's awesome. Go nuts. You might have a decent starter, but I think he's going to get swallowed up by the Colts. Where I think you're going to get value is they're going to have to try and score some points. So I think you're going to see Gardner Minshew throw the ball a lot, and I think DJ Chark is going to be the benefactor of that. So I think for fantasy, you can totally play DJ Chark. I think he'll be like a wide receiver two this week in a PPR format. I think he's just going to get the targets, and I think he's going to get those points per reception that'll at least keep him as a safe solid wide receiver two with maybe a touchdown or two as upside. But and then like I said on the cold side, I don't know if I'd start Jonathan Taylor. It depends on my options. If I have a more solidified starting running back option, I would do that. But if you're in a deeper league or you play, have a couple flex spots, I don't mind Jonathan Taylor um, being in one of those. I think he's going to flash and have some big bursted plays. It's just, will he? Who's going to get the touchdowns? You know what I
Hmm.
mean. One of them, Marlon Mack or Jonathan Taylor. I think they're both going to have a field day. Who's going to get the touchdown? And it wouldn't
Hmm.
surprise me if Indianapolis stays like a two-headed monster with two amazing running backs all season long.
Hmm.
And I
I
think
guess you
you can
could
get
you
the
could throw
points.
in Chris Thompson in that conversation. It seems like he's going to be the starting running back for Jacksonville.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, if he gets a couple quick throws out of the backfield in a PPR format, you got some points there.
He will
Maybe breaks a
definitely.
tackle.
If they're down, they're gonna utilize him.
Yeah, but uh, Indianapolis all the way in that one. So you've got your underdog of the week, and you
Yep.
said you've got
We got lock of the
Cincinnati
week. Yep.
lock of the
Okay.
week. Now, game to avoid to me, from a betting perspective, is going to be the Tennessee Denver game. And this might have been my other upset of the week, picking Denver, who's a home underdog, +3, Monday Night Football. You got to think that one, an East Coast team, East time zone team playing 2 hours behind that late at night. It's a 10 o'clock kickoff here on the East Coast. In elevation, I think the body clock's going to be weird. Tennessee's getting in there late because of COVID issues. I think
So
it's
you're
going to.
taking it under
I think it's yeah. I wouldn't bet on Tennessee to
as
cover
points
that spread.
overall. Sorry, that's what I. Okay.
Yeah, points. Yeah, probably the under as well. I would imagine Denver's got a really good shot to be 1-0 against a former playoff team, and a good playoff team last year.
Yep. No, I agree with you. That defensive line is just, or linebacker core is just gonna hurt trying to get Derrick Henry without Von Miller. But
Hmm.
I agree with you. What about a match to avoid? Which fantasy wise, betting wise, what are we gonna fucking stay away from this week?
I'll let you start with that. Right now it's funny because I'm looking at the
I'm assuming
Saints.
I was gonna say I'm assuming you're talking about Tennessee and Denver. Actually, I mean, you kind of just went over the points of like why
Uh,
you don't think they're gonna cover the spread. You don't want to take the total. You take the or total over points. You take the
I
under.
think Denver's got a really good shot at winning that game. So if you're looking for
So do
a
you
home
think
underdog,
they're
that was
gonna
going to
go
be
out
my
there
other
like
upset of the week, and a game to avoid in terms of betting on a favorite, and points as well. I think it's going to be low scoring. Lots of running the football. Tennessee is still a tough defense, so Drew Lock might have difficulty moving the ball, especially if Cortland Sutton is limited. Um, it could be a sloppy end of the week one, with that Monday Night Football matchup. So I would try to avoid that, which scares me because I have Melvin Gordon in a
yeah.
couple leagues.
I think you'll be fine to start Melvin Gordon. I
Yeah,
don't
he's
necessarily
starting, but
see this as a stay away fantasy game. I, from a betting perspective, could see why.
mhm.
But I think, and again, PPR format here, I think you can find some value potentially in this football game.
What are you thinking for fantasy? Stay away.
Well, I think here's what I'm teetering. I have AJ Brown, and I'm not playing him only because I have Michael Gallup, who I think is just going to have a better week. Those are my decision between the two. Doesn't mean I wouldn't start him. I think AJ Brown doesn't need a lot of targets, but the ones he gets, he uses his after the catch ability. to rack up a bunch of extra yards, and he'll throw you down for the touchdown. I mean, he's I think he's going to be an excellent physical receiver. Derrick Henry, we don't need to talk about. He's going to get the ball all game long. I I want to say that's probably about what I'm done being comfortable with starting or giving my for sure approval on the Tennessee side. Denver side, I think you can start Melvin Gordon. I don't know how well he's going to do, but he'll get the rock. He might split, and this is where I can't wait to see. I personally think it's going to be a split. I think it's going to be a 2-1. So two carries for Melvin Gordon, one for Philip Lindsay. I think Philip Lindsay might be in for more three down, but I've also heard rumors about them wanting to be more of a three down back system in Denver. It wouldn't surprise me if they do that. We'll find out. That's why, again, just another reason why I'm excited to watch and see all these fucking games this weekend. So I think you can do that, and I think you can start Jerry Judy. I think you can. I know it's ballsy, but I think he's gonna get the targets. Who the fuck else is? Cortland
Uh,
Sutton's probably
you
not gonna
got
play.
you got Noah Fant, Lock Love Fant last year.
I am nervous
Lindsey's gonna get a couple PPR out of the backfield.
for sure. I think
I
Noah Fant is a
it,
sneaky
it's
play. It's
it's
just it might
risky to start
not
Judy.
end up. I
It's
don't think so.
risky.
He's gonna be the number one wide receiver on that team.
No, he isn't. Carton Sutton is far and away the
Is he
best wide
playing?
receiver.
I thought he
Well,
was
that's
up.
true. For this weekend, he's still questionable, but
Okay, so he's still questionable. I thought they had put him as like doubtful for the week. I'm gonna check on
yeah,
that.
he's questionable with a shoulder sprain. Um, So yeah, it's a horse apiece. The unknown is clearly there. I mean, Judy could pop off, but I think Judy would pop off for like four receptions and maybe like a 60-yard gain on a deep route or a slant over the middle kind of thing.
He's practicing on a limited basis today. We'll see. I could see him being a distraction. He's gonna go out there and distract the defense with a better corner, and then you're gonna be able to pepper spray Jerry Judy with more targets. I just think he's a safer play this week. I know it's a little bit more out there. It might bite me in the ass. I really hope it doesn't. I'm gonna be sitting there fucking chanting for Jerry Judy now on Sunday. But dude, I think he's got a chance to get you at least like 5 or 6 receptions, and they could end up being really valuable receptions. So that's just my comment about it. It might not be as much of a touchdown dependent, but as the overall yards, if you're starting Jerry Judy, I'm assuming it's a late flex or you're in a deeper league anyway. I'm just saying I think he could be a sneaky start this week.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
So what about a juicy matchup? Where do you think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points?
I could
Points
see.
overall.
Oh shoot. I want to say the Buccaneers Saints game. Um, just because Bruce Arians loves to air it out. The Saints have a
Ooh.
history of their defense not showing up in week one. Um, and playing in the dome, fast track, no weather. The Saints offense is gonna come out, firing on all cylinders. So I would expect not only the over in that matchup, but I would expect a lot of fantasy points across the board. Um, the question mark there is Mike Evans. He sounds like he's not playing. So
Yeah.
that opens up the door a little bit for Godwin. Their tight ends, OJ Howard.
I still think they have a good wide receiver core. They still got Scotty
Yeah.
Miller that has apparently been well. You don't know, right? We haven't seen him yet, but the
Mm,
camp reports have been good.
Gronk. Obviously, Gronk's definitely gonna probably get a red zone target or two.
I'm
So
worried about him though. We haven't seen him yet. I believe
no.
you. I picked him up in our league because I believed that. Um, when he dropped as a free agent, we do kind of a dynasty all year round. We try to mimic the NFL as close as possible. So we've had our free agency period open for a while. I spent quite a bit to get him. I still think he's going to do very well this year. I think he hasn't lost much. I don't think he's going to be crazy good because you have, to your point, Chris Godwin and usually Mike Evans. Way better options, way better deep options. So I think he's going to be a red zone monster as well. I want to see it this week, and I don't know how well it's going to be this week for him. I mean, look how rusty we saw Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's Brady though. Maybe it's you never count him out, right?
Hmm. Never can count them out. Never. It's I think we're gonna have a much better perspective even just after this first weekend in terms of what's actually happening. I do think, and we've mentioned this sprinkled here and there, that injuries are going to have the biggest factor in this season than they have in others, and
Dude.
that's not even considering COVID. And just imagine that a player or two or a game could be postponed. I mean, we've seen it numerous times with the MLB already this summer, with a game or two being postponed because of a
Yeah,
couple
but
guys testing positive.
I
So
think playing the
it's
game once a week versus multiple times throughout the week will
mhm.
really help, hopefully stop or prevent that from
Yeah,
happening.
it does limit travel, and to your point, if you look at the European soccer leagues, they play once or twice a week maybe, and they seem to be doing just fine. I
Yep,
don't think a game has been postponed due to COVID. Granted, their numbers are a little bit different than ours, but
yep.
it's just something to keep an eye on, and it would absolutely suck if Zeke Elliott is missing a game because of flu-like symptoms. Um,
No, I
it,
agree with
it
you.
you
That's
know
a good
it,
point too.
it's an extra factor that plays into the crazy parody that is fantasy football and the game itself.
So, so you think it's going to be the Bucks game, Bucks Saints?
Yeah, in terms of just fantasy explosion, just the two quarterbacks going at it. I could see Seattle, Atlanta as well putting up a lot of points just because Seattle's traveling cross country to play in the dome. Yeah, Atlanta and Matt Ryan, a lot of weapons there. And if Seattle's able to are allowed to throw the ball, they ranked close to dead last in throwing the ball in the first half of last season. Could be a lot of points there as well. Vegas, Carolina, two defenses that have question marks, but potential offensive explosions there. Um, it's across the board, man. There's plenty of interesting matchups to see.
Of course it is. But which
We
one are you? If you got to put your money where your mouth is, which one
oh
are you going to bet it on? That's what we want to know, right? That's what
yeah.
we're here to talk about.
Hmm.
I am
Let's
putting it
see
on
here.
the Vegas and Carolina game
Yeah.
as a juicy matchup, and I'm going to tell you who, and it's for Josh fucking Jacobs.
Okay.
I think he is going to have a lights out stellar game, fantasy wise and just regular. I think he's going to push 100 yards. I think he's
Hmm.
at least going to score, and I think he's going to catch a couple passes. I think he's going to find holes. He's going to get big gashes of yards. You're not going to see, 5 yards here, 4 yards here, 2 yards here. I think you're going to see like 3 yards, 15 yards, and then 4 yards, and then potentially like a 25, a 30-yard run. I think
Hmm.
with how busted up their defense is, their linebacker core as well, I think they're going to run the ball down their throat. And I think that Vegas's defense is taking quite a bit of step forward. But you're still dealing with McCaffrey, so I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy stuff going on in this game.
Uh-huh.
You got the quick throws with Teddy Bridgewater to avoid the pass rush.
Hmm.
So we'll see. I think Carolina is going to struggle. I think consistency is going to prove out here, and I think both defenses are going to have a hard time. But that Vegas run game is going to keep them steady.
Yeah,
Start Josh Jacobs.
there should be a lot of points in that game. You
I just
come to
think
figure.
he's going to be a top 5 running back.
But again, it's a West Coast team traveling east, and that's hard to do, especially for the 1 o'clock kickoff. That's in Vegas time. That's normally what 11 a.m.,
I don't
10
think that's
a.m.
the day before. I don't think all
So
teams travel the same day.
they don't. Well, not definitely not same day, but still, body clock takes some time to adapt. Could have a role. Um,
Yeah,
all
you're
right.
right. You're right. You're right. It could.
So I'm thinking James Conner, Pittsburgh running back against the Giants. That's definitely a start. Giants defense has its problems, has its woes, and Pittsburgh is just going to ground and pound until they have to are forced to throw. So I'd look for James Conner to have a good week there. Who else? Austin Eckler against Cincinnati. Definitely considering him as a number one or number two running back this week. Cincinnati's defense still has holes in it. I think if Joe Burrow struggles, and it's slow for him to move the football right away, at least in the first half, Chargers offense is going to be on the field more. Chargers defense is solid, so they should be able to contain. that Burrow offense. So I'd be looking for Eckler to have a big week as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will say I still think that Cincinnati's got Geno Atkins on the defensive line. I'm not going to count out for helping with the run, but the fact that he catches more passes is gonna really help out. I think it'll be an interesting game. I think you're just going to see a little bit more physical wide receiver play and a little bit more of excitement and potential rapport versus Tyrod Taylor. There's not a lot of excitement around that. I'm just going to be dead honest with that. I just Last time I saw him play with the Browns, he struggled and he ran the ball. He panicked. Eh, maybe he's better. Maybe he's gotten better. I don't know. I see them struggling, and you're right. I see Austin Eckler being a definite beneficiary of just like, oh shoot, don't tackle me.
Hmm.
So, but I don't know if he's going to do it as much. That's my concern. I think he'll take off and run versus dump it off like Rivers would. So, like we've been saying all this whole thing, we'll see. Um, so, which one are you picking?
Out of those two,
Yeah,
I would do James Conner with Pittsburgh against the Giants defense and their front seven. Um, it,
let's do a fantasy lock per position, and let's go for a bet. I want to see how we do on this. I've got Josh Jacobs as being a top five running back this week. I'm betting. I'm betting on it. You think James Conner is going to be top five?
I do.
Okay,
Uh, I do. Yep.
I can see
He's
it.
in a prove it year. He's healthy. Um,
I can see him
s-
going down in the game, but I can also see. I'm just
yeah, I'll never want to predict injuries. So, uh, yeah, I could see James Conner as a top five running back this week. Um, what about for wide receiver?
We're
Stefan
gonna
Diggs,
do
huh?
top 10, and
Top 10 wide
I
receiver.
am going to say Stephon Diggs. I am not as comfortable with this one. I'm not as confident, or I should say, he's going to be a wide receiver one. So it's technically, if you're in a 10-man league, it's 10. Which we make our basis at? Should we just do top 10? I think that's a little simpler.
Sure.
We play in a 12-man league, that's why. So I'm saying wide receiver one, top 12, top 10, whatever. I think that they're going to utilize that empty secondary now without Jamal Adams on New York Jets side. Like I said, defenses are going to struggle, and I
Mhm.
think you're going to see a lot of corners struggle. So I think Stephon Diggs is going to rip him a new one, and Josh Allen is going to try and use his shiny new toy as much as possible. So
Okay.
I think he's going to be due for 5 to 7 catches, and I want to say at least 70 yards. And in
Nice.
fantasy, and I'm predicting a touchdown as well. So I think he's going to be up there in points. That to me could end up being a top 10. Maybe that's not as much points, but that's just what I think is going to happen.
I'm gonna be bold here. I'm gonna go Ruggs, Vegas rookie wideout
For a top 10,
for a top 10. Bold prediction. Top 10 wide receiver this week.
so what's going to happen if we're wrong about this? We got to do something. There
Then
can't be
we're
no.
wrong about it, and we don't bring it up.
No, we got to have something.
We can recap. We'll recap Tuesday or something like that. But yeah, I mean he's listed as the number one wide receiver. Carolina's defense has practically no one, as we've mentioned, at least from a national perspective. Um, you know, if Vegas is going to be grounding and pounding the ball with Josh Jacobs, then that's going to just leave Henry Ruggs the opportunity to show off his speed. You know, he's the fastest player in that draft class. If he can get outside and over the top of a safety that may be crashing down to stop the run, then Derek Carr's got an easy 60-yard touchdown right there. So that may happen once or twice. Maybe a couple slants over the middle, a couple design wide receiver screens just to get the ball in his hands um, against a bad defense. Then yeah, I would think Ruggs would be excuse me, a very interesting play. Right now, I have him in a flex position on my own roster, but a definitely sneaky top 10 wide receiver, especially if you're looking for a daily fantasy format.
That's okay. Good point. Yeah. You know what? You know what would be fun? Um, each week. we should do either. Do you want to do like a DraftKings or some sort of lineup? And we should. I wouldn't. I usually bet anyway. I wouldn't mind just filling one out while we're filming this
Should we
podcast.
do one at like together as a borderline sports, or should we have individual?
Oh, that's a good idea.
I think we should do it together. Just
Yeah,
you know,
I like
we'll
that. I like that
we'll
a
put
lot.
like $5 or something. Who cares?
Anyway, let's see what else. So we got a tight end and then a cornerback. Unless there's somebody else that you think is gonna burst this week, I don't really. The tight end is just gonna be kind of tricky. I would have said Travis Kelsey just to cover my bases.
I'm gonna go
I'm
Andrews, tight
okay.
end, Baltimore. Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson's gonna find his safety net week one, just to get his feet wet here, at home against Cleveland. Rivalry game. Um, yeah, I would go with Andrews, especially if Cleveland's trying to stop the running game. If Cleveland is trying to stop Lamar Jackson and contain him inside the pocket, and then the tight end should be open here between the linebacker and the secondary.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, maybe we could dive a little deeper. We're not as uh deep on the tight ends right now about potential breakouts. But I gotta say, Kittle is gonna have an easy lock top five game here.
Yeah,
Arizona struggled hard against the tight end last year, and I still think it's a kind of a glaring weakness. The only thing I'm concerned about is Isaiah Simmons might be used as more of a safety or a
I
linebacker, which
can't wait to watch him.
I know I'm excited. So he could put a monkey wrench in my prediction here, but it's also George Kittle. I'm gonna take the Kittle bet, and I'm gonna say he has a top five game.
It comes down to, I think, if you're doing it daily fantasy, the value. Are you going to get Kittle for more than Andrews? But either way, you can't go wrong. I mean,
Do
they're
you have
they're
DraftKings?
very they're very good. Tight ends from a perspective this weekend. I don't, but I could get it.
I have it right now. I would not mind. Oh, great. I don't have. I gotta type in my information apparently, but I don't mind filling one out right now for the games tomorrow, man.
Should we just do a borderline sports one?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Let me download it.
Oh, well, I guess yeah, that's actually a good idea. Okay. I'll edit this stuff out of the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's going on 2 hours, 3 hours.
So you know what I was thinking is we might be able to record a lot of this, but I'll break it apart into episodes that are smaller. Like I'll
Sure.
break up the AFC portion, and then we can record an intro, and then I'll do the NFC version, and versus having like a really long podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and it's just like I said. Honestly, I feel like the more we've been doing this, the better we've been kind of getting at going back and forth. So it's also been kind of nice doing that.
Should we create a new DraftKings account and use our borderline sports Gmail?
Yes, look up if there's a promo code.
I'm sure there is.
Let's see here. I downloaded the Honey app. I wonder if that actually works.
All right, there's a code, save and get a deposit offer up to $500 for daily fantasy, and there's DraftKings Sportsbook, which
Save.
is, yeah, save, SAVE. We don't need to do the Sportsbook because we have Bovada for.
Oh, so it's not for this?
It is. No, it's for daily. We're talking about daily fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah, so save, SAVE, all caps.
Oh, it's telling me I gotta type in some legal stuff. I
Oh yeah.
can't do just borderline sports. Okay. Should I do Borderline Sports as our user?
Yeah.
69 after. No, I'll just do Borderline Sports 20. Um, what should the password be?
Same as always. Fantasy football 2020. Capital F.
Okay. All right. I still think you should download the app and just create a random account so you can actually look with me about what the players are so you can build a lineup at the
I
same
think I
time.
can log in as you, or like
I
I
don't know
think we.
if you can do it at the same time. Can or
Uh,
maybe I
let
can log in and stream it to you.
let me know when you're. Yeah, yeah. If you want to just go live on Discord.
For your first deposit, you'll receive a bonus deposit up to 500. You'll also receive a $5 free ticket to play. I'm just gonna put in 25 bucks. What do we got left to go over?
Um, Really nothing. I mean, make quarterback of the week, I suppose.
Well, I guess yeah. This can be the betting part was just more honestly for you and me, just because I thought it'd be fun to like actually predict, you know, put our upsets and everything locks of the week on here, and then actually come back and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the format moving forward will be like recap, things to look for the next week, and then predictions to wrap up the show.
Okay, let's.
You know,
Or
like as like week one recap and then looking into week two, kind of thing.
yeah, we'll go a lot um faster next time around. Right now I'm gonna pull up and stream for you. How do I do that? How do I stream?
So you're in Discord, and then bottom left corner,
Let's see
it
here.
says screen.
Go live.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Can you see it?
Yep.
Let's get on into this. All right, I put 25 bucks in.
Okay,
You
I'll
can get
Venmo you.
well, I was gonna say you can just do the next one.
Yeah,
Do you,
can you have two cards on file?
do you have PayPal? Oh, I guess I don't know. Maybe you're right. We probably should just. I went.
Should
I
we just
didn't
go
use.
create a new bank account for
What
claim that shit
what is it? Borderline. You enter a lineup of $5 in the
into the
bank.
$5 million thing?
Yeah, we'll do a $5. Okay, so I'll cut it up to this part, and then let's give me about half a second, and we can start going through um, who we want on our lineup.
I liked, you know, let's see here. Lamar, of course, he's 8.1.
Oh yeah,
Um,
so
I
for
think
each.
just
Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna do like a little intro, just because I'm gonna have to edit this, so it's gonna sound really weird if we just are randomly talking and it skips.
okay. I'm gonna try to
Alright.
log in, see if I can log in at the same time.
Alright, it's our daily fantasy picks of the week. Alright, guys, we're using DraftKings right now. We're gonna go through, and each week we're gonna fill out a $5 lineup and put our money where our mouth is. Against our daily picks and fantasy stuff we've been kind of giving you guys as advice. Um, so right now, Steve and I we're looking at quarterbacks. Um, oof, man, this is gonna be a little bit tougher. Um, the highest QB is Lamar Jackson right now with $8,100. We got a $50,000 salary. We can always start with another position. I don't really like starting with the quarterback
Yeah,
position.
let's start running back and see where we're
Uh,
left off here.
well,
Um,
wow, CMC is at 10,000. I think that's exceptionally high. It could benefit us. We'd have to take some shots on some wide receivers or some tight ends this week. Um, hold on a sec. My wife is calling me. Sorry about that.
you're good.
Um,
I think just taking a look at that,
I
if you're
gotta say, I
you're so
trust.
in love with Jacobs this week,
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you.
All
Okay.
right, go to wide receiver now.
You're not seeing anybody else you like. So we got
We'll
Josh
bounce back to it.
Jacobs in our lineup at $6,800. I don't think that's uh actually too steep of a price either. I think we
Mm-mm.
can potentially. I've never one to really like to launch and spend up on someone unless I know greatness is gonna come. I just don't see any of that happening this week since, like I said, we haven't seen anyone play. I don't know if your thoughts are any different, but um, I mean, you did say you thought Allen Robinson was going to have a big game when we were talking earlier. You think 6,500 is a bit much for him?
Uh, no, just seeing the other names around him.
I'm looking further down the list too. What's his price at? I forget.
DK Metcalf would be a curious one, and so is uh the the Redskins wide receiver McLaurin.
Were you able to log in?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, so you're
Um,
watching me.
yeah, I'm watching you.
Okay. Ooh, I I like the Terry McLaurin idea. 5,600 bucks.
You made what's our username? Borderline Sports 20.
Yep, I'm gonna add him for now.
And the password with a capital F.
Yep. Well, I don't know if it'll let you because I'm in the middle of picking, so it'd probably mess with it. You go ahead and try. It's not gonna hurt anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'll try later.
Do you really want to launch him into the atmosphere? I think Deshaun Jackson could end up being a solid play too. There's three wide receivers. What do you think of this? Don't like
Yeah,
it? Don't like it.
Deshaun. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Jackson's
An
value
always
comes straight out of just like three bombs.
Yeah, exactly, and it always happens in this first game or two. 3 games, 9 receptions, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That was in one game.
Yeah. All right. Give it a shot. I mean, the Redskins
He's
secondary
it's
is
not
is
great,
poor. The
and he's the
Redskins
only one out there.
the
I think we
Redskins
move on.
defensive line is pretty good though. It's much improved.
Oh, for sure, but I mean, we're shooting for the moon here. I think he's gonna
Yep.
burst one free. That's just my opinion. We can take him out. We can put him as a maybe. Do you want me to put him out for now, or keep him in and see if
Yeah.
he?
Well, yeah. Take him out because we still need a second running back
Yeah,
and maybe
that's
a third running back.
okay. So
But
let's. Do
out
you
of the
want
tight ends though,
big
a
money?
cheap tight end option is going to be Disley from the Colts.
Where is he?
The tight end.
Oh, oh, he's way down there. Okay, you think he's gonna do good? Is he their
No,
starter?
the Colts tight end. Maybe it's not Disley. It's
Oh,
what's his face? um,
Jack Doyle.
Doyle. That's it. Thank you.
I'll cut this out too. I think we should fill this out before and then talk about it on the podcast.
Mhm.
Oh, am I not? Alrighty, you're right. He does like to hit up the tight ends a lot. Why don't we look flex? That way we can look at running backs, wide receivers, and a flex spot and go by price.
So average remaining salary is 57.80.
That's pretty good. Um, I'm worried about the QB though. They're pretty expensive too. Should we look and see if we can get that out of the way?
You like Derek Carr
I don't know.
or
I
Teddy
do and I
Bridgewater
do and
or
I don't. I don't think I'd be way more comfortable with like a Cam Newton with rushing as long as he does. I
or
still
Teddy Bridgewater too or
Kirk Cousins is less than Joe Burrow. That's oh, ouch.
go Trubisky. He's cheap.
Why is Jameis Winston up here?
I don't know.
You think he'll have a big game?
No. I don't know. I don't. It, no, I don't. He's cheap. He's cheap as hell. That's for sure. But
This is who I would pick.
Cameron Newton.
Or I'd pick Jacksonville. But I think they'll run the ball a lot, so I think this one New England's got to show up and win.
Well, Miami did just spend a lot of money on their secondary. Keep that in mind.
I know.
What about Carson Wentz against the 29th ranked secondary, Washington? He's healthy. Zach Ertz, ton of targets.
Okay. Okay. I don't mind that. Let's try to see if we can build a solid team around that. Um, do you want to reach for like a Chris Godwin or a George Kittle potentially?
We would have to go cheap on the.
Yeah.
Oh man, we still need three running backs, wide receiver, and a flex. So we still need
Yeah, but our
three.
defense is like nothing.
Yeah, true.
So I'm gonna just ooh. Should we do the Tampa Bay?
What's the Colts defense? 3,000.
That's not terrible though, but it's like 2200 or it's
Or
2400,
Eagles defense? What's that?
2600. What's Eagles?
They're up there,
36. Yeah.
36. Yeah. No.
We could do the Raiders or the Saints.
Saints against Tom Brady.
Here,
Hmm.
let's get that shit out of the way. Um, seeing anyone that's standing out to you?
DJ Moore, 66.
I was gonna
Um,
say I'm tempted if I think he's gonna be a top 5.
yeah, Diggs, show him off against a bad defense.
Oh, well, I didn't
No,
mean
oh,
to.
that's not bad because we have a lot of money left for average remaining player then.
Like I said, this year I didn't want to really reach either way, so now we can get a solid running back. We might like I'd rather be able to spend up than spend back. So, ooh, I'm so tempted if he wasn't so
Three
expensive.
thousand dollars left of the flex. Well, who would we get out of the last flex spot for 320?
No.
Riley
No.
Ridley? Yeah, no.
Okay, let's. Well, actually, I'll start. Darius, guys. Sony Michelle could be a sneaky. J.K. Dobbins could be a sneaky start. Marlon Mack is only 5,300. Where's Jonathan Taylor's 5,700.
Let's do it. Let's do Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Now we
All
have
right.
75 for the flex. That's huge. We could get
Ooh, Alvin.
Kittle. Do we get Kittle Tittle as a flex? Kamara? Oh yeah. Oh, like the tap is look first though. Shit.
So what? It's Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
It's also Devonte Adams. They could have a good game against the corners. Either way, we got to rebuild something. So maybe we go review quarterbacks. Oh, should we just take Lamar Jackson
Well, what does that leave us with?
or Josh Allen?
Grab Lamar. Let's see what happens. What's 5,700 left?
Emmanuel Sanders or AJ Green or Le'Veon
Ingram.
Bell? I don't think. I wish we had 100 more. We could get Zach Ertz. 200 more we could get in this range. Let's just see if we should we take Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll do well though? Let's see. So 6,800 points. DeAndre Hopkins, the shiny new toy.
Against San Francisco? I don't think so.
What about Joe?
First game with a new quarterback. Mixon? Yeah.
No, or would you rather have?
I mean, you got to think Mixon's going to be getting a lot of touches and a lot of catches out of the backfield. They just paid him,
I
and
think
Burrow's going to check down a lot.
we have $100, but I don't know if there's anyone that I'd like to change. Maybe we can look around the wide.
Terry McLaurin. See who we could replace McLaurin with.
You don't like him? You don't think he could
I
do
don't
well?
love him. I'd rather see what else we could get.
John Brown.
It'd be 5,800 left.
T.Y. Hilton, I would love to have DK Metcalf. I don't know. These are maybes because Jacksonville's probably they're probably going to run the ball a lot. I just don't know. They could do really well though. So it's AJ Green could go off in his return. Otherwise, I think Terry McLaurin's still a good wide receiver, dude.
All right.
But
That's a
let's.
solid lineup right there.
What other running backs could we potentially get? Or James White. What about Chris Carson? He could have a field day. What if we do this? Now let's look. Now we can go up to Kenny Golladay. Oh, it would have been great. Calvin Ridley, maybe? Julian Edelman, Tyler Boyd. Or who are you looking at for wide receiver? We can always shuffle around.
Oh man. Um.
Would you rather have DJ Moore than Stephon Diggs?
No.
We could go lighter than. Don't eat that, dummy. Fucking idiot, dog.
Oh, I've got a girlfriend gonna be here in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I gotta head out here soon. So what do we want to do? Do we want to go for? I see. What about that? Let's take a shot on Marquise Hollywood Brown. Thoughts?
Hollywood Brown. Yeah.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown stack, Jacobs, Taylor, Diggs, Ruggs. Enter ticket. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, we already got a ticket. All right. Anyway. All right, dude. That was fun.
Yeah.
When I get more time, I'll edit. I'll edit the podcast and we can kind of go from there. I think I'm
Cool.
gonna try to split it into a couple episodes. So we'll just like
Sure.
record another intro, like I said, and say this is episode 2. We decided to split up our first episode because it was so long, blah 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 blah. So